4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Live from the place you're not overly ostentatious studios of the Infinity Sports Network here in beautiful New York City, sitting on top of the 10th floor of 345 Hudson Street. Welcome on in to what is a Tuesday edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all of our great local Infinity Sports Network affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 158, the free Odyssey app, and of course streaming live on YouTube. 855-212-4227 is the number to jump on in. 855-212-4227. You could always get at me on Instagram, where I'm straight flexing, or via the good old cesspool of Twitter, X, at Zach Gelb. That's ZACHGELB. I got Stuart Kovacs. I got Nico. I got Moist Mike. We are rocking and rolling all the way up until 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time. I got to start off with Tyreek Hill. So we'll play the audio in a second. Tyreek Hill, it's not pressing, but he made it clear that he wants a new deal. Let me just say this right out of the gate. Tyreek Hill is going to have to wait, because even though I believe Tyreek Hill is more valuable to the Miami Dolphins' success on offense going into the year of 2024, they have to take care of someone else first, and that is their quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa, who is about to enter his final season on his rookie deal. Now, they could still franchise tag him twice if they want, but as we sit here and we get ready for training camp, Tyreek Hill is under contract for 2024, 2025, and 2026. If you take out the franchise tag route, you do have Tua Tagovailoa's contract coming to a close at the end of this year. So Tua's contract is a more pressing matter right now for the Miami Dolphins than Tyreek Hill, who is now 30 years old, just got a new deal in 2022, still has 3 years left on the contract, but he's already starting because he is the best wide receiver in football right now with what he's done as of late. He's already starting to kind of get that train and get that bicycle rolling into him getting a new contract. But this is Tyreek Hill on the increasing wide receiver market, something that you could argue he did start. And look how he just so smoothly threw in there, didn't kind of make it a Tyreek Hill big quote, wasn't going on and on and on about his contract, but he just swiftly threw in there that, oh yeah, by the way, I want a new deal as well. Here's the Cheetah.
I'm very excited to, just be a part of, the old wave, which was, $30 million, and Justin Jefferson came and surpassed that, man. So very, proud of those guys, happy for, obviously, my teammate Waddle, getting his new deal. For guys like me, that's great. I'm 30 years old, also looking for a new deal. So very excited to see where, I fit in to that category.
Well, you fit in right at the top of the market. Now, I understand age is a thing, but Tyreek Hill is aging like he is fine wine. His first 1,000-yard season was in 2017, where he had 1,183 yards. In 2018, after that, he put up 1,479 yards. In 2019, 860. And then, listen to what he's done the last 4 years. 1,276 yards on 87 catches. His final year in Kansas City, 111 catches, 1,239 yards. Now, obviously, Kansas City has found a way to still win without Tyreek Hill. And you would have thought, right, maybe Tyreek Hill's production takes a hit even without the great Patrick Mahomes. And to be fair, Mahomes wasn't his quarterback for the entirety of his run in Kansas City, but Mahomes is the best quarterback in the game. But with Tua in and out of the lineup in 2022, it didn't matter. Tyreek Hill, first year away from Patrick Mahomes, 119 receptions, 1,710 yards. And last year, 119 receptions again, 1,799 yards. So I don't know when Tyreek Hill will slow down. And remember when Aaron Rodgers, right before he won back-to-back MVPs, and people were questioning, what's the future of Aaron Rodgers? Even the Packers did so by selecting Jordan Love. Rodgers said something along the line of, even when I have a down year, it's still better than 95% of the quarterbacks in the NFL. And he's not wrong. So even if Tyreek Hill, and I don't think, right, that slip and that fall off is close, but maybe the wear and tear, maybe he starts to slow down a little bit. If this guy slows down from being basically a 1,700, 1,800-yard wide receiver and goes to 1,400, 1,500 yards, you still take that. And he'll still be one of the more explosive, dynamic, and lethal players in the league. So in a weird way, even though Tyreek Hill should have no bargaining power here because he's under contract for 3 years, he does have a ton of leverage. Because there's still that thought in Miami. Is Tua really great? Or is it more so the environment that he's been put into and what they've done for him ever since Mike McDaniel did take over with, a brainiac as your head coach, serving basically as the offensive coordinator, running that offense. And you have not only one number one wide receiver, but you have two number one wide receivers. Because as great as Tyreek Hill is, Jalen Waddle can go to a lot of other teams in the NFL, and he could be a number one wide receiver. So I do think, and you need this, right? Like, when did Jalen Hurts take off? When he got A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. When did Josh Allen take off? It's when he got Stephon Diggs. Like, you could go around the league, and you could see guys that were fine quarterbacks that were, questions about them. There were questions about Hurts. There were questions about Allen. And then it's not brain surgery to figure out that if you put great wide receivers around a quarterback or a great running back around a quarterback or great offensive line around a quarterback, it's going to help that quarterback out immensely. Now, the quarterback needs credit too. Like Jalen Hurts outplayed Mahomes in a Super Bowl. Even though they lost, he got credit. Josh Allen is recognized as a top 3 quarterback in the league. By some people, he's the second. Some people think he's the third best quarterback. But no one's saying that he's like past 4 or 5. Like, everyone agrees that Josh Allen's a top 3 quarterback in the league. But Josh Allen did not really take off until he got Stephon Diggs. Jalen Hurts really didn't take off until he got both A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. So if you took Tyreek Hill away from Tua Tagovailoa, can Tua still be a good quarterback? Yeah, he could still be good. But his game is definitely going to take a hit if he just had, let's say, only Raheem Mostert, Devon Achane, and Jalen Waddle. Like, you could have success with that group, but there's going to be limitations because I think Tua is more so in the category of just being a good quarterback and not a great quarterback, even though statistically last year he did perform like a top 5 quarterback throughout the season. So don't get this twisted. Absolutely, Tyreek Hill is the most valuable player on the Miami Dolphins. But just because he's the most valuable player doesn't mean just because he floats out there, hey, I want a new contract, it doesn't mean he's going to get it right away. Because still in this league, even though I think Tyreek Hill is more valuable than Tua Tagovailoa, quarterbacks, they go first. Especially when a quarterback is on the 5th year of his rookie contract. And I don't think Tua Tagovailoa is getting a new deal by the start of the season. Maybe something can happen over the next few weeks before training camp, but I would be surprised with how long this has taken. Some of the reporting by Jeff Darlington as of late, who even said they're offering him a contract right now that's below market value, which I get. Okay, the Jaguars, they rushed to give Trevor Lawrence a new deal. Just because the Jaguars did that doesn't mean Miami has to get this deal done and pay $50-something million a year, $55 million a year for Tua Tagovailoa. And usually quarterbacks, they get great money even if they're just a good player. So I do think what Miami's doing, and they kind of put their cards and showed you their cards on the table last week with the reporting, we're willing to get a deal done with Tua now if he goes below market value. Because there's still a question about Tua, because going into this past year, it was, can Tua stay healthy? Can Tua stay healthy? He stays healthy, this past year. But is he going to be able to sustain that for back-to-back years? So I don't fault Miami rushing to get a deal done now, to not get a deal done right now with Tua. I actually think it's smart. You could save now, and if Tua balls out this year, then you're going to have to pay him a little bit more. But I'm willing to make that sacrifice and have to pay a little bit more per year rather than me giving him a huge deal right now, at market value before the season starts. And unfortunately, if Tua gets a concussion or if Tua gets hurt, you're back in the same boat where we were before last season. So I fully get what Miami's doing, but it is going to have a domino effect on Tyreek Hill. Because just because Tyreek snaps his fingers right now and says he wants a new deal, and I don't think he was doing it in an obnoxious way. I don't think he was doing it in a demanding way. He's just making it known, hey, yeah, I'm going to get a new deal soon. And you have to look inside his contract. Even though he's under contract through 2026, his guaranteed money, it comes to an end after this season. So Miami, they got to take care of Tua first. I think they will take care of Tua at the end of the season, and I think we'll get an extension next offseason. And once that deal does go down, and once Tua gets squared away and situated, then the next domino to fall is Tyreek. And if you look inside the Tyreek contract, and I'm not usually love when we have to break down these contracts, but it does pertain to this argument and to this theory on how the Dolphins can wait a little bit with Tyreek, and you can go through the season, final guaranteed money on the deal, even though there's 2 years left on the contract after that. It actually would benefit Miami to get a new deal done with Tyreek Hill a year from now, or maybe even after the 2025 season. Because the cap hit for Tyreek Hill for this upcoming season is $31 million. Nothing's going to change by that. But if you give him a new extension entering next season, you can move around and lower the cap hit for the remaining 2 years and spread that out however they want to do so. Because that cap hit in 2025 is $34 million. Once again, not the end of the world. But the cap hit in 2026 is a whopping $56.3 million. So what we thought was going to happen with the Dak contract situation, remember how Dak's contract was like $60 million on the cap hit this year, and they were able to trim like $5 million off of that? That's what the Dolphins are going to be in a similar boat entering the 2026 season. But let's just say they want to wait, and maybe Tyreek doesn't have as many more elite years as I think he can. You know, it's very easy for them to get out of this contract. Because in 2025, the dead cap is $22 million, around there. And in 2026, it's at $11.3 million. But I don't think it's likely, even if they did wait, and let's say at the end of Tyreek being 32, I still think there's an avenue and a path to give him a 3-year deal where bare minimum you'll still get 2 great years out of Tyreek Hill after that 2026 season. So kind of the way that this all works out, I look at it, the next deal Tyreek gets, even though it will be a 3-year extension, I do think it will kind of be viewed as a 5-year contract because that will factor in, let's say they get Tua done at the end of next offseason, they also get Tyreek done, they can move around those numbers and set it up beneficial to them. That will include the pending 2 years on the contract, 2025, 2026, and then you'll add on 3 more years, 2027, 2028, 2029. But I think the Dolphins are one of the more intriguing teams in the NFL right now because there are teams that we look at and we just view them as a good team and not a great team. And you guys listening to me for all these years, you know, I am very strict on the teams that I will allow to be referred to as great. And I can't view right now Miami as a great team. Like if you told me Miami misses the playoffs this year, I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be. They have the talent on offense just alone to make the playoffs. But on defense, Phillips is enormous. He's coming off an injury. Chubb is enormous. He's coming off an injury. And that defense, to me, is going to be the difference along with Tua. If Tua could dominate in the big games, those 2 things will determine how far Miami could go. But quite frankly, when I look at the Dolphins, I look at Miami as just a team this year that if you say, Zach, you know, be as benevolent as you could possibly be in your soul with the Miami Dolphins, what do you envision Miami being this year? So if I'm going to look at this as optimistically as I can, the best I see them doing is getting to divisional round weekend and winning 1 playoff game. I don't think Miami is about to go to a championship game. I don't think Miami is going to a Super Bowl. And it's not because I don't believe in Raheem Mostert, Devon Achane, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. Their offensive line is a question mark. Tua, can he be great is a question mark. And that defense with the injuries that they suffered last year and it being uncertain when those guys are coming back is a massive question mark. And I think Miami is just one of those teams that they'll be in the postseason. They could miss it, but they'll be a playoff team. But when push comes to shove, I only see them winning one playoff game at most, at the absolute apex. I don't see this team stringing together a run of a wild card round victory, a divisional round, a championship, a conference championship round, and then playing for a Lombardi trophy. I just don't see it. They're a flashy team. They're a fun team. They're a fantasy football team. But fantasy football teams in the NFL don't win Lombardi trophies. They don't. And that's how I view Miami. They got a lot of sizzle. They got a lot of pop. At times you'll look at them and you'll say, oh, how'd they score 70-something points in a game? And you'll be blown away. But as it gets colder, as the season goes on, as the games get bigger, I think this team comes up small. And that's why, hey, wild card round weekend, I think they could outscore a team. I think they could go put up enough points and win wild card weekend if they get the right matchup. But when you get to the more elite competition, the Miami Dolphins, to me, aren't in that circle. They aren't in that club yet. They look like they could be in that circle. They look like they could walk down into that lifestyle, but they're not there yet. And the biggest limitations I think this team has are at the quarterback spot, that he's just good, not great, and the defense has a lot of question marks with players coming off injuries. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. How do you view the Miami Dolphins entering this season? 855-212-4227, 855-212-4227. When we come on back, who are the best dynamic duos in the NBA? I feel like each and every year we ask, who's the best player in the NBA? I think right now most people would agree it's Nikola Jokic. But now when we take it a step further, after seeing the Denver Nuggets go down in the postseason this year, after seeing Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum punch through and win a championship, who is considered to be the best dynamic duo in the NBA? We'll discuss that when we return in 5 minutes.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Infinity Sports Network.
All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. I actually made an appearance earlier this morning calling in to the Maggie and Perloff Show right here on many of the same Infinity Sports Network affiliates, Sirius XM Channel 158, the free Odyssey app, and also streaming on YouTube. And I ran by a conspiracy theory that was floated my way from a very reliable source as it does pertain to their producer and Elijah Stewart, EJ, who we all love around here, who unfortunately was stealing third base in a charity kickball tournament, which was allowed, right? They laid out the rules and stealing was part of the rule. So EJ was going very competitively and very hard in this competition. And when he went to go steal third base, he fell down and he claims he did tear his patella tendon. Now, I was told from a very reliable source that EJ is faking the injury, is faking the surgery, is friends with a doctor, is just getting kind of a doctor to go along with this plan because EJ is trying to weasel his way out of a bet that he lost with the Maggie and Perloff Show, which he's on, that requires him to run gassers. And his thought with this whole thing was if he tears his patellar tendon, and he claims to tear his patellar tendon in a charity kickball tournament with all of us, a lot of us from the network watching and there and participating, that it would garner some sympathy for Maggie and Perloff. Oh, he went through the charity kickball tournament, tore his patellar tendon, so now we won't make him run the gassers just because you don't want to see someone get hurt, or the recovery time, the Fugazi recovery time here for the fake surgery would actually maybe make them forget about the bet that he has to pay off. So that's what I threw by them. And I don't know if they bought it or not, But then this board came up. So yesterday, I guess they're doing a board right now, what Pete Bellotti is mad at. And I said, you probably don't have a big enough whiteboard to write everything that the body Bellotti is mad at. But yesterday, there was a list of things, and I added something to it. And I added, Perloff acting like he was Juju Smith-Schuster at a charity kickball tournament. And I guess there were 2 hours into their show. And the whiteboard is literally right behind the great Maggie Gray. And right in front of the nose of Andrew Perloff. Like, it's right underneath his nose. And they were talking about the addition to the whiteboard on the air. And they're like, who added that onto the board during the break? And then I came clean and told them, hey, it was me. So right now on the board, it's Gunnar Henderson, the suspended coach from Uruguay, Zach Wilson's engagement, Tyrod Taylor as a landlord, the Jets logo guy, which I have no clue about, and then my name was on the board. So I erased my name because I don't want Pete the Body Bellotti mad at me. And Samter, I threw your name under there because it's probably right that Pete's mad at you at some extent.
Yeah, 10 years after last working with him, he's still furious with me.
But you were right, Samter, because when I told you yesterday on the air that I was going to write something on the board, you were like, I bet you they don't even realize it. Because you've worked with Maggie and Perloff for a while and used to write things and be a prankster and be a practical joker on the board. And they wouldn't realize it when they walk into the studio. It'd be when they examine the board and do whatever board segment they're doing for the day.
I will say this, at like 5 o'clock in the morning, Eastern time, when you're about to start a show, your eyes aren't fully focused on your surroundings. You're just trying to survive.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
We're trying to survive. Like, we're doing something crazy here. We're sitting down and we're talking sports.
You ever do a morning shift?
Yes.
Oh, man, that's not fun.
When I used to fill in on Taz and the Moose, Taz would have the studio so dark in here. Like, they didn't stream, so they didn't need all the lights on. And Maggie and Perloff, at least, I think, had the lights on, so it's bright in here. But I would almost fall asleep when filling in on Taz and the Moose because it's what? That show started at 6 a.m., and you have to, I got in there at like 4:40, 4:30 a.m. Eastern time, so you're just naturally tired. And when you go into a setting tired and there's basically no lights on, you pretty much just want to doze off and go to sleep. So that's how I kind of was.
It's like playing like lullaby music, right? Like having the lights off when you're tired just immediately makes you want to sleep. You got to like wake yourself up. It's coffee, bright lights, and loud music.
Well, when I worked for Angelo Cataldi on his show in Philadelphia, they used to bring in once a month because Del Frisco's was the sponsor, Del Frisco's. Oh, I don't care if it was 7:30 in the morning. You put steak, lobster mac and cheese, cream spinach. They had some great dessert, too. I forget what it was. You put all that food, even asparagus at that time. You put that delicious Del Frisco's steak with all the sides. Yeah, your boy was eating like a pig. Absolutely eating like a pig.
It sounds delicious. 6 o'clock in the morning. I don't know if my stomach can handle that.
Craig Carden, when he used to do the morning show, would bring in like Wohop, which is the great Chinese food place around here. And he was also then like the next day bring in bagels, like lox, whitefish, and all that stuff. So anytime you bring in food in a radio office or a radio station, radio network, it doesn't matter what the food is. It doesn't matter what time of day it is. As long as it's something that isn't healthy, you throw that in the newsroom, it goes away within 5 minutes. 5 minutes may be too much time, actually. It would be as if you had a wolf walking around that hasn't had something to eat in 2 weeks, and then you just put down a big hunk of steak, and then boom, there's no more food left to be seen.
There's people that you don't even know work here that show their faces when there's food out.
Yeah, who is this person here? Oh, they're in sales. Really? The first time they've been in the office in about 2 years, they knew the food was coming in. But anyway, I want to just ask a quick question because I wonder where the praise is and somewhat in the moment, but then also maybe there's some skepticism with it as well. So Jason Tatum is getting that monster extension from the Boston Celtics, $314 million, and that was well expected that it was going to happen. I don't say this disrespectfully, but if Jaylen Brown already got his contract, you knew Jason Tatum was going to get his contract as well. But Stu, if I ask you who the best dynamic duo is in the NBA, do you right away say it is Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown just because they recently won a championship?
Yes, I think it is them. I think anyone else, there are other good ones, but I think you're overthinking it if you're picking someone else.
I think there's only one that wouldn't be considered overthinking. but I'll get to that in just a second. Samter, Tatum and Brown, do you think they're the best dynamic duo in the NBA? Can you argue somebody else?
Oh, I definitely can argue somebody else.
But can you actually believe it? Like, don't be Skip Bayless and just argue for the sake of arguing.
I mean, listen, I love Tatum and Brown, but neither of them have MVPs. Jokic has 3, and Jamal Murray is a superstar. So you can go with that. You can go with Kat and Anthony Edwards. They're not there yet, but maybe in a couple of years. The team that the Celtics beat, Luka and Kyrie. Yes, you can say that the Celtics were just better and maybe Tatum and Brown were better, but they also have a better supporting cast. So if you're just looking at the two players, Luka and Kyrie versus Tatum and Brown, I'm probably taking Luka and Kyrie. It's close. It's close, though.
Well, here's the thing. You called Jamal Murray a superstar.
Star. I misspoke. You're right.
But still,
he's a star.
You called him a star, and I am like the leader up until he threw the heating pad in the towel. I am like one of the leaders of the Jamal Murray fan club. He didn't make an all-star team. So it's tough for me to call him a star, but that's the one duo that I think you could argue. It is Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. And if you want to look at the ones of that duo, sure, I'd rather have Nikola Jokic than Jason Tatum. But when you look at the twos, I'd rather have Jaylen Brown than Jamal Murray. Jaylen Brown, to me, there's not injury concerns like there are with Jamal Murray, and he's more consistent than Jamal Murray. And we were wondering, will Jaylen Brown have that clutchness? Because that's the best argument for Jamal Murray, how clutch he is and how sensational he is late in the games and what we see in the postseason. Well, Jaylen Brown just won a conference finals MVP and an NBA finals MVP. So I don't think it's sexy. It may not be the obvious answer, but I do think it's the right answer that Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are the best dynamic duo in the league. And after that, like I'll tell you, if I had to give you my 5 best dynamic duos, KD and Devin Booker aren't in it. Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards aren't in it. Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler aren't in it. You know, KD and Devin Booker, it seems like one of them is about to get traded or wants to get traded. Towns isn't a strong enough 2. Edwards is clearly a strong enough 1. And Jimmy Butler, I think he has his eyes set on potentially leaving Miami. He's going to play out this year and then see where it goes from there. But the 5 duos that I have in no order, Brown and Tatum, Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray, LeBron James and Anthony Davis still have to be in there. Giannis Antetokounmpo and Damian Lillard, and then Luka Doncic and Kyrie. You know, I would probably say if I had to order them, it'd probably be in that order. You know, yeah, I would probably go Brown and Tatum, Joker and Murray 1, 2. Like, those are the first 2. Then after that, you could order Bron AD, Giannis Dame, Luka and Kyrie in whatever way you want. I would probably have to go Bron and AD, though, 3, because they did win a championship together. I would then probably have to actually flop and put Luka and Kyrie in at 4, even though I have great concerns about how long Kyrie is going to be mentally plugged in. But they were just in the NBA Finals, and when Giannis won a championship, who Giannis is the second best player in the league, he's won a championship and has won MVPs, but the first year did not go over well with Giannis and Dame, but I do think they're going to have a monster bounce-back season here in year number 2 together. So I think those are the 5 best dynamic duos in the NBA in that order. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Murray and Jokic, Bron and AD, Kyrie and Luka, and then Giannis and Damian Lillard. Who's the best dynamic duo in the league? 855-212-4227, 855-212-4227. But you just had Paul George and Kawhi Leonard break up, with Paul George off to the Philadelphia 76ers. And you also had Steph Curry and Klay Thompson break up, with Klay Thompson is now on his way to going to the Dallas Mavericks, which I thought was a good decision by Klay Thompson. I don't like how he's playing like the victim card here and how the Warriors screwed him over. No, the Warriors made a smart decision not bringing you back. It's not easy because you're a franchise legend and you won 4 championships. I know his father, we'll play you more of this in the news brief coming up in a bit. You know, his father wanted him to join with the Lakers, and he could have done that. But you're leaving out of the realistic options. I thought his best chance to go win a championship next year, if you put that in front of me, Warriors if you want to stay, the Lakers, or going to the Mavericks, I think he made the right decision and puts himself in a better chance to go win a ring.
If I was Clay, it's not that I would be pissed about how this is playing out, but the fact that they gave Draymond money after Draymond punched out Jordan Poole, but then they're going to turn their back on you. It's like, you're choosing Draymond over me?
Well,
you're choosing this guy who's a walking nightmare, punching guys in the face, hitting opponents, hitting our own teammates, getting suspended, and not averaging more than 10 points a game when nobody was around. The guy's a glue piece, but he's not a big money guy.
So you're not wrong, but you know whose fault that is? It's Klay Thompson's. Because I was listening to the game this morning, 95.7 The Game, and they had on one of the Warriors beat reporters who did a full deep dive into this entire thing, Anthony Slater. And Anthony Slater reported that a big reason why Draymond was back and he got that deal and why he will still remain on the team is because Steph went to bat for him. Klay Thompson reportedly went to Steph and said, I want them to pay me and do right by me on their own. I don't want your help. So Steph could have gone to the front office and said, hey, keep Klay, but Klay asked him not to do so. If Klay did that, or excuse me, if Steph did that and did actually go to them, and let's say Klay never did that, I think there's a chance that Klay is back. And this was something that was very obvious. Like sometimes we look at this nationally from afar, but from people that cover the team, no one's surprised with how this has gone down the last 3-4 months that Klay is now off to another team and that the Warriors didn't give him the deal that he wanted and he wanted to be taken care of with Golden State. There were a lot of stuff that's been reported throughout the year. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We will come on back with the news brief, but first up with the latest Infinity Sports Network update, here he is, the coach, the Act Man, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
And it's sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Protect your family, your phone, and your furry friends with life, electronic device, and pet health insurance. Donovan Mitchell remains the focal point of the Cavaliers, who have given the 5-time All-Star a 3-year extension. It's worth $150 million. Mitchell has helped the Cavs to the playoffs in back-to-back seasons after coming over in a deal with Utah. The 27-year-old averaged nearly 27 a game last year. Mo Wagner re-signs with the Magic for 2 years, $22 million. The Orioles are back in action tonight, opening a series in Seattle. They were off to the start of the month. They were off to start the month of July, I should say. Have now had as many off days this month as they did the previous one. Gunnar Henderson and company survived June, going 17-13, and are tied for the AL East lead with the Yankees.
It's been a tough stretch. Obviously, didn't end it the way we wanted to, but I felt like we did really well for the depending on the circumstances that we had. One off day, so felt like we put ourselves in a good position to set us up for the last half.
The O's will send 9-game winner Grayson Rodriguez to the mound tonight against Seattle's George Kirby. Yankees are home to open a series against the Reds with Luis Gil going for his 10th win. I'm Rich Ackerman.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on X. Our handle is INF Sports Network. That's INF Sports Network on X.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
Alrighty, we talked about this a lot yesterday, but let's continue the conversation. Klay Thompson is going to find his way to a new home, and that's the Dallas Mavericks. There was a thought he may go join the Los Angeles Lakers. Here's Chris Haynes on Bleacher Report why Klay Thompson is not going to the Lakers.
I was told the Lakers made a pretty compelling offer. It was around a 3-4 year mark, somewhere along the lines of $20 million per, and they didn't get their guy. It just did not happen. I was told that it would have likely involved D'Angelo Russell being a part of a deal to get Klay, and from what I was told, the Warriors weren't interested in bringing back D'Angelo Russell.
So, Stu, I know the Laker fan is very sensitive right now. Do you blame the Lakers for not getting this deal done with Klay Thompson? Because I saw like a lot of people on the discourse of social media yesterday, like crushing Rob Pelinka, crushing the Lakers for not finding a way to get the proper pieces in the sign and trade done. They made a good offer, though, to Klay Thompson. I just think Klay believed that the Dallas Mavericks put him in the best position to kind of, in his mind, stick it to the Golden State Warriors, and he had a better shot to go win a championship with Dallas than the Lakers. I know a lot of times, right, it's fair to blame the Lakers for things because they're a mess right now. I don't really see this one yesterday, so I'll have you represent the crazy Laker fan.
No, it's hard to blame. It's not like they could have offered more money, so it wasn't being cheap. He wants to go to somewhere where he feels that he can win, and I don't blame him. If I was him, I would do the same thing. I would go to Dallas over to Lakers as well.
Well, Lakers fans are annoyed at Klay Thompson, or maybe they're annoyed at their own team. Michael Thompson, Klay Thompson's father, I guess, is annoyed at his own son. Here is Michael Thompson, who is right now the longtime Lakers color analyst on the radio broadcast. He is not happy with Klay going to the Mavs and not joining him in L.A. This is Sirius XM NBA Radio.
Yeah, hold your congratulations, Frank, and Scal. I'm not too feeling too much in a congratulatory mood right now. Because obviously it's Klay's decision, it's his life. He's a grown man, 34 years of age, just like we were 34 at one time. Scal, Frank, and our father used to give us advice, and we would go choose our own path, and that's fine. That's what life is supposed to be about. But I'm really disappointed. I was hoping, as you can assess, that he would be a Laker, and it was close. It came down to the Lakers and the Mavs, but the Mavs won out. But you know me, I was hoping and praying he'd finish his career with the Lakers.
I understand, since he's a Laker and he won 2 championships with them as a player, why he would prefer his son to go there. But I don't know, Samter. That's kind of a bad look for Michael Thompson to basically sound like he's miserable that his son has elected to leave the Warriors and go to the Mavericks and not go to the Lakers. Like, can't you support your kid there?
Yeah, I mean, he said, I'm happy that he's happy, so there's that part of it.
I'm just saying he's not happy.
He said he's happy that he's happy, but at the end of the day, yeah.
He's like, hold up on the congratulatory messages.
He's not happy. He played for the team. He works for the team.
Who cares? It's your son.
Klay Thompson grew up idolizing the Lakers, grew up idolizing Kobe. He always dreamed of playing with the Lakers. So it was like
20-something years ago.
Yeah, but I mean, there's still a kid in you. And to say that the Mavs undisputedly are the better chance to win a title now than the Lakers, it's probably closer than you think.
No, it's not.
The Lakers were in the Western Conference Finals last year.
2 years ago.
2 years ago. And the Mavs made a surprise run. Nobody expected the 5-seed Mavs to make their run. So it wasn't like they were the 1 seed or the 2 seed or the 3 seed and they were a favorite to win. They made like a big surprise run. They got hot at the right time, then they got blown out in the finals. At the end of the day, like, if the Mavs go one and done or go out into the second round this year, even with Klay, are you going to be surprised in that Western Conference? No.
No, but if you tell me the Lakers are in the NBA Finals next year,
I'd be stunned.
I would be stunned. Stu would hit the floor. He wouldn't know what to do with himself.
They have a genius head coach, a basketball genius as a head coach.
Do me a favor. I'm not even responding. I'm going to pretend like I didn't even hear that. I thought it was asinine that yesterday you said Jalen Brunson wasn't a top 25 player in the league. Now you're saying J.J. Redick is a genius of a coach?
Spreadsheet of guys that were better.
Yeah, I said like 20 to 25. I'm looking. He's probably closer somewhere between that 19 to 22 range, 18 to 22 range.
All righty, let's hear one more from Michael Thompson because it's better than what other Samter's saying right now. Michael Thompson surprised Klay didn't go to the Lakers.
Obviously, I tried to sell playing for the Lakers. Obviously, that's the right thing for me to do and the proper thing for me to do, and I felt like it was the correct thing for me to do because I really believe in this franchise. The franchise has been so good to me and my family, including Klay. He grew up a Laker fan. He grew up idolizing Kobe Bryant, like most players his age, most kids his age. So I just thought it seemed like it would be the perfect fit for him to finally come back home because we always talked about him playing for the Lakers. If he was not a Golden State Warrior, where else would he want to play? And, of course, being a fan of Kobe's, he would have loved to have played for the Lakers, but he had a chance, and when the chance came, he chose the Mavericks instead, and I'll live with it. I accept it, and I'm happy for him that he's happy with his decision, but, yeah, of course, I tried to sell him on the Lakers.
I forget the exact scenario, but I want to say it was like LSU and Alabama. There was a mom a few years ago who was expecting her son on decision day to make the decision. I forget if it was LSU or Alabama, maybe it was someone else. And when the son put on the cap, she basically smacked him and walked away. And she was frustrated. That's Michael Thompson basically being somewhat of an adult, criticizing the decision just not storming off and making it a big scene. All righty, let's hear from Bronny James. He was introduced today as a Lakers draft pick. Is there pressure playing with your father, the great LeBron James?
How much more pressure is on you playing on a team with your father, and how are you going to handle that pressure?
For sure, amplified amount of pressure. I've already seen it, stuff, media and stuff in the internet and stuff, talking about I might not deserve an opportunity, but I've been dealing with stuff like this for my whole life. So it's nothing different, but it's more amplified for sure. But I can get through it.
I have no problem with the Lakers drafting Bronny. None whatsoever. My problem's with LeBron, that he could have got his son drafted somewhere else and also joined his son somewhere else and actually be having a legitimate shot to go win a championship. Like, I think LeBron should be in Philly before Paul George should be in Philly, but that's not the way that did play out. Bronny James, did playing with his dad impact his decision to enter the draft?
For me, I always try to put that narrative of me trying to get my name out for myself, but just coming in and trying to get better. Rob has told me that there's a great development system here. So I just want to come in and get my work in and get better every day. But I never really had a thought of, me going to play with my dad, but that's always, there to, take part of. But that wasn't a main focus of mine to do.
You definitely thought about it. I don't know if it was your preference, but you definitely thought about it. It's physically impossible to not think about it. All right, Samter, I turn the program over to you because the only time I care about soccer is when it's the Olympics or when it is the World Cup. What's the latest with Team USA?
Well, I'm going to enlist Stu to help me out here. But basically, U.S. had to either beat Uruguay to move on, or if they drew, then that meant that Panama would have to tie or lose to Bolivia.
Drew means tie, I'm assuming?
Correct. Now, at a certain point, it was 0-0 for the U.S., and Panama was up 1-0. At that point, the U.S. was out. Then, out of nowhere, Bolivia tied the game up, which means that if the scores hold, the U.S. moves on. 10 seconds later, the head coach, Greg Berhalter, puts up his fingers to his team. Hey, guys, the other game is tied 1-1. Immediately after he does that, Uruguay scores a goal to go up and basically put the U.S. out of their misery. However, that goal should have been disallowed. I don't know if you understand the offside rule in soccer, but basically...
Yeah, I get it enough.
Okay. It was a clear offside. They had VAR, which is literally a camera system set up in place to be able to monitor exactly where players are when a ball is hit. The guy was offside by 3 feet, maybe 2 feet. He was way offside. There's no reason why they would have looked at the replay and not called him offside. However, the ref decided not to call him offside. They allowed the goal. It was one of many instances in the game where the ref made a blatant, disgusting decision that many people, not just American fans, around the world are saying to themselves, this guy is throwing the match. After the match, Christian Pulisic, our best player, went to go shake his hand. The guy refused to shake his hand. This was clearly a case of
So are we eliminated?
We're eliminated.
All right, thank God, because I'm sick and tired of seeing all the tweets. I really am. I'm fine.
You got to get into soccer, man. It's so exciting.
Hey, Stu, real quickly, play me the play-by-play of the goal, courtesy of Fox.
Free kick for Uruguay after the rain of foul. De La Cruz sends it in. Turner to save. The rebound's a goal. U.S. looking at the side, hoping to see a flag come up. It's not going to come up.
Should have.
All righty. Well, that will delay my soccer coverage and my paying attention to soccer until the Olympics and the World Cup. Thank God.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Alrighty, rocking and rolling. Hour number 2 of our radio program. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. I did see yesterday one of my favorite names in the NFL, Yaya Diaby of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, said people are sleeping on the Bucs defense, but we're going to wake them up. I don't really know if people are sleeping on the Bucs defense. I don't think that's the case. Like, I think a lot of people right now, they respect Tampa Bay. Now, I do believe that most people are like me, and maybe this is where some of the disrespect comes in, that they think the Atlanta Falcons are going to win the division. And if Atlanta had a quarterback last year, they probably would have won the division. Now, it's not a lock, but when you really examine the NFC South, sure, last year, what Tampa Bay was able to do was impressive. First year without Tom Brady, and they were playing in the second rounds of the playoffs. So give them credit for that. They beat the Eagles in that playoff game, and then they ended up losing in a close game to the Detroit Lions. But that Tampa Bay team went 9-8. The year before that, they were 8-9. And they were able to bring back Mike Evans, where a lot of people like myself thought that Mike Evans was going to be going somewhere else this offseason. So I think that Tampa Bay team is a solid team. If you tell me they're going to make the playoffs this year and win that division, I'm not going to sit here and debate you and tell you that you're crazy. I think the Panthers have no shot, even though they'll be improved. I think they have no shot to win that division. And like the Saints, we all went through the hype of the Saints last year. Now, the Saints have the same record as Tampa Bay from a year ago at 9-8. But when Derek Carr's your quarterback, it's not inspiring. Like, you know what? Here's a fun question to ask right now. Throw Michael Penix Jr. out because by design, he is not supposed to play this season. Kirk Cousins is supposed to be the guy. And let me take Bryce Young out of the conversation. But let's just go through the road here and travel down the road here with the vets. If you had to rank these three quarterbacks in order, Stu, I'll start with you. Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr, and Baker Mayfield. How do you rank those three quarterbacks from the Falcons, Saints, and Buccaneers? One being the guy you most want to have, and three being the guy that you want no part of.
I will go Kirk Cousins number one. Obviously, you're hoping that he's healthy and assuming health. So I will go Cousins 1. I will go Baker Mayfield 2, Derek Carr 3.
Was that a tough decision for
2
you?
2 and 3 was a little tough.
One's obvious.
I think
It's
Cousins
Kirk
is obvious 1.
Because for you, you're a former Raider fan,
Yeah.
and Raider fans, they love Derek Carr, even though they knew he had limitations, because he actually embraced being a Raider. Now, there was a lot of times you do like the whole woe was me stuff, but a lot of those years, it was deserved. But when you eventually keep on saying, this is going to be our year, I believe in the guys in the building, and you keep on coming up short, it's eventually, okay, yes, there's other problems, but you got to shoulder some of the blame there. So why'd you end up going Baker over Carr? Just wondering.
Just trust him more in a big game spot. Derek Carr, as much as I love him and think he's had a solid career, but I don't really. There's not one moment where I'm like, okay, he can put the team on his back and lead them on an 85-yard drive. Like I just trust Baker to do that more than Derek.
Carr had the Raiders in the playoffs twice. Right,
yes.
He got hurt right at the end and wasn't able to play in that playoff game.
Yes.
Do you remember who started for the Raiders in that playoff game?
Yeah, that was the great Connor Cook.
Oh,
because they had Matt McGloin, who was the technical backup, and he played the last week of the season, and he got hurt. So it was Connor Cook. I believe he was a rookie that year. Yeah.
That was who Francesa called McCluthinus?
That's right.
Right?
Yes.
I think Matt McGloin, he won some election. I became like a little bit friendly with him, and we've exchanged some messages, and he's come on the show before. I forget what, it was something in Pennsylvania. Let me see if it comes up right here. Yeah, he was sworn in as the vice chairman of the Board of Commissioners on January 2nd, 2024 for Lackawanna County in Pennsylvania. So I guess that's some sort of political position. He did declare he'd be running, this on Wikipedia, very reliable source, for political position of county commissioner of Lackawanna County in Pennsylvania as a Democratic candidate. So that was in 2022, and he was sworn in on 2024. So how about that for Matt McGloin? I wasn't expecting us to talk about Connor Cook and Matt McGloin today. I did not have that on my bingo card. But the point I was making is that Carr with the Raiders got him to the playoffs twice. Right? He threw that interception against Cincinnati late.
Yes.
And Cincinnati ended up going to the Super Bowl that year. Baker Mayfield's been to the playoffs twice. And he's won 2 playoff games. One with the Cleveland Browns, where they walked into Pittsburgh, right? Stefanski had COVID, and they still ended up just smothering the Pittsburgh Steelers. And this past year, he was on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and was basically written off. Like, think about how crazy that is. With how bad the Browns have been, after a year the Browns make the playoffs, the following season, we didn't know if Baker Mayfield played so poorly because of the injury, or was it more so him just not being that good because he suffered that shoulder injury early in the season. So there was that thought. The very next offseason, they get rid of him. You know, they bring in Deshaun Watson. They give him the guaranteed contract. That's been a disaster so far. They trade all those picks. And Baker Mayfield goes to Carolina, gets in that QB competition late, then kind of saved his career in a very brief spot at the end of the season in L.A. with Sean McVay with the Rams, and then, you know, winds up in Tampa, and no one's really thinking much out of him, expecting much out of him. You know what? It's the one prediction Hickey's actually got right. Hickey said that the Bucs are going to win that division. He was in on Baker Mayfield to the Bucs. And the Bucs have a blend of a solid defense and a nice 1-2 punch at wide receiver with Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. Probably should reverse the order on that. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. And Baker has now put himself in a spot where, you know, I don't think we look at Baker Mayfield as a great quarterback. But if you need Baker Mayfield for a season or two to start for your team, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. And now Baker Mayfield's back in Tampa Bay. So, Samter, would you agree with Stu's order there when you're ranking Kirk, Carr, and Baker? Because I do agree with Stu. I think it's Kirk is 1, Baker is 2, and then Carr is 3.
No, I go Kirk 1 for sure. I go Carr 2 and Baker 3. I love Baker, and I'm a big Bucs honk. I have them winning the division this year.
Oh, you're a Bucs honk?
Well, just
they're going to get you in the pirate ship?
No, I mean, listen, you know, when I give up on the Chiefs, I'm going to go with the Bucs. No, I like the Bucs in the sense of, like, they're my team out of the South this year. They were my team last year also.
What a bizarre team.
They were my team last year also. I picked the Bucs. I have a lot more faith in the Bucs.
Wait, at the NFC or the NFC, just the NFC South?
South.
Oh, okay.
South. And I like Baker, but we forget that, like, 2 years ago, he was bouncing around from Carolina to the Rams. He couldn't find a team.
Sure.
I love Baker. I really like Baker. But you look at Baker historically, his seasons outside of one and last year have been very mediocre. Derek Carr has had consistently, like, Pro Bowl level seasons year after year. And yes, he's failed. Yes, he's fallen short. But consistently, he's been a better quarterback than Baker Mayfield over the course of their careers.
Oh, Derek Carr's been in the league a lot longer. And they have the same amount of playoff wins. And it's not like I'm saying, you know,
but that's not all on Carr.
No, but hold on. The Browns stunk. I know the Raiders have had some god-awful teams too, but it's pretty much apples to apples there. You know, Carr had a heck of a start to his career. But ever since really like 2018, you know,
he made a Pro Bowl in 2022.
What does that mean, though?
Okay, wait, hold on.
How many guys said no before Carr said yes?
Okay, so hold on. You said that he hasn't been that special since 2018. Here's his numbers from 2018 on.
Wait, was 2022? Was that the year?
That was 2 years ago.
That was the year where the Bengals made the playoffs, right? Made the Super Bowl, right?
Maybe.
Yeah, Bengals were in the Super Bowl. They lost to the Rams, and then the following season it's been Kansas City 2023, and then no. I think that was 2021.
Yeah, so the Chiefs were there.
Honestly, his most memorable season was
2016.
Yes, but I'm talking about recently. It was 2021 where he got that team to the playoffs. That was the most I was impressed by him.
No, but since 2019,
and he didn't make the playoffs that year. He made the playoffs 2022. I mean the Pro Bowl.
No, he made the Pro Bowl in 2022. Did not make the Pro Bowl in 2021, but he had a great year both years.
A great year,
very good year. 2019, 21-8. 2020, 27-9, 2021, 23-14, 2022, 24-14. 4,100 yards, 4,100 yards, 4,100 yards, 4,800 yards.
Yeah.
And he didn't make the Pro Bowl.
That doesn't do it for me.
That 10-7 year with 4,800 yards, 23 touchdowns, 14 picks, he didn't make the Pro Bowl.
2021 is his most memorable year in recent memory.
Baker Mayfield's had a couple very good years. He's had 2 very good years. 2020, where he had 26 touchdowns, 8 picks, and 23 last year with the Bucs with 28 touchdowns, 10 picks. But, like, he's thrown over 4,000 yards once, and that was 4,044 yards.
Well, in Cleveland, they're a run-first team.
Yeah, but 3,700 yards, 38, 35, 3,000. Like, it's not like he was getting close. He wasn't even close to 4,000 yards. And in today's NFL, if you're below 4,000 yards, you're not a legitimate throwing quarterback. Like, the guys who throw for less than 4,000 yards are either not good or they're running quarterbacks like Justin Fields and Lamar Jackson.
But he was hurt in 2021 with the shoulder injury. 2022.
He still started 14 games. Hurt or not, he started 14 games.
So you're getting on a guy. Yeah,
and
he can barely throw the ball.
I'm not getting on a guy. I love Baker. I'm a Baker fan. I'm just saying if you compare him to Derek Carr, I'm taking Derek Carr.
Sure, if you want to just read the stats. Watching
it's not just the stats.
Watching them, Baker Mayfield at times has an it factor. Derek Carr has an oh no factor in the last 3 to 4 years.
You tell me that Baker Mayfield doesn't have an oh no factor?
In the last 2-3 years? No.
Well, the last 2-3 years, he was on 4 different teams in the last 3 years.
If you take out 2023, if you take out 2022, excuse me, last year Baker Mayfield was solid, and the year before that, he was in the playoffs. Cleveland, he won a playoff game in Cleveland, defeating the Steelers.
And I love, like I said, I love Baker. But again, the Raiders. What's a worse franchise, the Raiders or the Browns over the last 30 years, 25 years? They're pretty close. They're pretty darn close.
The Browns.
But not by a ton. I mean, they're 2 of the worst franchises over the last 20 years.
Who's worse, the Browns? If you take out before Baker got there, because that's how you have to do it with Cleveland. Before Baker got there, who's the worst franchise?
Man, it's really close. Because the Raiders only had that one playoff appearance in basically like 20 years.
Yeah. Well, it made the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That was in 2002.
I know. I'm all aware.
From 2002 on.
And the year before that was the Tuck rule.
Ready? Here you go. From 2002 on. 4-12, 5-11, 4-12, 2-14, 4-12, 5-11, 5-11. Sorry, Stu. 8-8, 8-8, 4-12, 4-12, 3-13, 7-9. From 2002 to 2015, they were the worst franchise in football.
But how many... You look at the Browns. Who had more coaches? I bet you the Browns.
But that's on ownership also. The Browns are firing guys after a year. Yeah, but ownership's a big part of it. I get it.
Wait. So, from what year are you trying to tell me from?
Well, the Browns were pretty bad. From 02 to 15.
What year are you trying to tell me from?
From 02 to 15.
From 02 to 15.
Raiders had 9 coaches during that span.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, they've had a lot of coaches.
Okay, so from what year?
2002.
2002. Okay, so they went 9-7, the Browns. Then 5-11, 4-12, 6-10, 4-12. Romeo that 1 year, 10-6. They missed the playoffs. 4-12, 5-11, 5-11, 4-12, 5-11, 4-12, 7-9, 3-13, 1-15.
Yeah, it might be the Browns actually.
And then they were also 0-16 too. And if you want to go to 2017 as well. Like this is saying.
But it's close.
Put it this way: you have 2 pigs.
Yeah.
We're like, all right, the Raiders have a little more lipstick on them,
maybe,
than the Browns. Now it's totally different. The Browns are a much better spot.
If you want to say the Browns were the worst franchise, they did have a 10-6 season in there, and they finished second in the North.
And Baker won a playoff game there.
Yeah,
Derek Carr's never won a playoff game.
Huh? He was also
Baker Mayfield. If you counting Tampa's won 2.
He was also an MVP candidate before he broke his leg that year, and they would have won a playoff game that year.
Okay, you can't play that game. They didn't.
No, you're right.
And Stu, is it ever a lock that the Raiders win a playoff game?
Nothing's ever a lock with the Raiders.
And not only that, because I didn't mean to go down this rabbit hole. We want to do something completely different, and we just wasted everyone's time for 15 minutes, but it's somewhat entertaining. The other part of this conversation, too, you're so quickly to point out, Baker Mayfield was off to Carolina and was off to the Rams. Fine. Derek Carr also got jettisoned. Now, he got signed to a stupid contract, but that's on the Saints. And I know Josh McDaniels is a dope, but Josh McDaniels was not wrong in getting rid of Derek Carr. It's that he had no other option to fill in for him. Like, at least Baker Mayfield got thought of the idea that they were bringing in a guy that had potential to be a top 7-8 quarterback. That wasn't the case with the Raiders. The Raiders, who even started week 1 for the Raiders last year, Stu?
I think it was Jimmy G still.
Oh, yeah, Garoppolo. He got banged up. But that was the dumbest thing to bring in Garoppolo.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Carr was better than Garoppolo. And I said that at the time of the signing. Man, that's painful when you go through the Raiders last year. Because you eventually got Aiden O'Connell. You had Garoppolo. Did Hoyer start any games for them?
I believe Hoyer started 1 or 2 games.
Jeez. Anyone else play for you guys at the QB position last year still when you have to go through that rabbit hole?
I think that was it. I think it's just those 3.
Man. So at least like Baker got replaced for Watson. Derek Carr got replaced for Jimmy G. Whew.
Yeah, he started one game last year, Hoyer. He played in 3, started 1.
The difference was that a team wanted Derek Carr. No team wanted Baker Mayfield.
Well, no, a team did want Baker Mayfield. It was the Carolina Panthers.
He was like their 9th option, and then they got rid of him halfway through the year anyway.
I could tell you that's not true, that he was not their 9th option.
Sorry, 6th.
If you're still wrong on that. If you go through that, there was that big delay on the compensation part of it and how that move was going to be made. Because the Browns, they were trying to do like 2 things. They knew Watson was going to get suspended. So they were also trying to keep Baker, but Baker was done with that franchise, and they were done with him. So Baker did not put himself in the right position to succeed because he went to a place where the coach was on a hot seat, and he got there with like a month before the start of the season.
I put out a simple poll on INF Sportsnet. The NFC South has quarterback question marks. If Cousins is the best quarterback in the division, who's second best? Baker Mayfield, Derek Carr? We will see.
Wait. You didn't even put Bryce Young out there.
No, because we're having this conversation right now. You took Bryce Young out of the equation.
No,
we're just
I
talking
understand
about
that.
Carr and Cousins.
I understand
Carr
that, but everyone on
Mayfield.
social media is not going to understand the conversation that we're having. So there's going to be people that are going to be like, what about Bryce Young? I'm telling you, those Panthers fans, Mac and Bone, down on WFNZ, they get very, very sensitive. But that's fine.
If somebody wants to chime into Bryce Young right now after the rookie season that he had, you know what? Go talk to a wall. I love Bryce Young. I think he's going to be really good, but you can't make the argument at all compared to the other 2 guys. And if you're going to try to, then I'm not going to listen.
Now, I will say, though, if you ask me, who would I rather have between Baker Mayfield, Derek Carr, and Bryce Young?
I'd probably go Bryce Young.
I'd rather have Bryce Young.
Yeah, I agree.
Because there's limitations on Carr and Mayfield, and I think that was more just a terrible situation for Bryce Young last year, but that could derail the rest of his career. By the way, early returns, not even close. It's Baker Mayfield 80%, Derek Carr 20%. Who is a sleeper team in the NFL? We'll discuss next on the other side.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Infinity Sports Network.
So I'm just going to say something without really knowing any of the context around the situation, which is always a dangerous road. So I don't know if there is something very important or if maybe it's part of a new jersey debut. But you know those like blue jerseys with the green that the Seahawks wear?
Sure.
So Russell Wilson just tweeted out, "Forever grateful." It's his jersey, and it's from the Seahawks. And I listened to the video for like 10 seconds, and it's like, oh, super grateful for the Seahawks for sending me this. Two things. I don't know if there's something more to it, but it's weird that the Seahawks sent Russell Wilson a jersey when he's no longer playing for the Seahawks and is still playing for another team. And also, if you're Russell Wilson, doesn't this small post come off like he regrets leaving Seattle? Because Russell Wilson, his biggest downfall, his biggest flaw, what led to his downfall, is he was insecure about the way that people viewed him. Even in his own locker room. You know, there was always that thought that Pete would go after the Legion of Boom more and wouldn't hold Russell Wilson to the same standard. And remember, Pete Carroll was Russell Wilson's guy, and Russell Wilson was Pete Carroll's guy. So I think there were members of the Legion of Boom, I don't think, I know, and it's been well documented, that they didn't get along with Russell Wilson. And it seems as if that retirement celebration event, if that's what they want to call it in Seattle, they basically told Pete, we don't want you coaching the team anymore. But when all those players came back to town, it seemed like that's when the players that were mad with Russell Wilson broke kind of bread, and then they were all good. Now, I think it's very simple. There's egos on all great teams. That was defense up against offense. Defense got so much credit, then Russell Wilson's career did progress. But the reason why that defense started to fall down, a lot of those players had to get out of that building because of the fact that, right, that was a defense that thought Marshawn Lynch should have got the ball at the goal line, at the 1 yard line, and Russell Wilson ended up throwing an interception to Malcolm Butler, and that ended a great run by the Seattle Seahawks. And then the players in the Seahawks didn't like, because they're Pete Carroll fans, they did not like Russell Wilson trying to force his way out of Seattle, and they thought it was disrespectful to Pete Carroll. But now you look at it turned out for Russell Wilson. Goes to Denver, stinks in year one. Year two plays better, but the coach and Sean Payton wanted nothing to do with him. And he had better weapons in Seattle on offense than anything he's ever had in Denver. And now he's in Pittsburgh, where it could just be a one-year experiment. Like Samter, from a human standpoint, even though he wanted out and he got his way out and he got everything he wanted, there has to be some regret like, oh, if I stayed, he's probably still in Seattle, never has the fall from grace. Like, even if they don't make the playoffs here and there, I don't think it's ever us now talking about Russell Wilson. Maybe he won't make the Hall of Fame, and probably Pete Carroll's still the head coach there if Russell Wilson is the quarterback. There has to be regret from Russell Wilson's part.
Yeah, it felt like kind of a surprise. It felt like an ego thing for Russ, where he just, he wanted more power, so he decided to go to a team that would probably give him more power. And then they brought him a coach who was not going to give him more power, and then boom, here he is, third team. Yeah, I can see it being a regret thing, but hindsight's 20/20. I feel like at the time they were ready for a breakup. It didn't feel like it for us, and it felt like a surprise. But
no, I don't think it felt like a surprise at all, because they laid the foundation. Russ laid the foundation for 2 years. I was surprised that Seattle went through with it, and they elected to trade him, but Russ made it clear that was heading to that divorce.
Well, I think when the actual trade happened, yes, but that initial interview with Dan Patrick, the whole thing where he didn't say "Go Hawks," and that's kind of where it started to feel like, wow, what's going on
that interview
here?
with Dan Patrick. I'm not saying Dan was phony here, because he's not. I love Dan. It's one of the phoniest interviews I've ever heard from an athlete.
Well, he's just a phony guy.
No, the reason why I say that is because if you listen to what Russell Wilson said in that interview, it was, I was sitting at the Super Bowl, and I'm tired of seeing basically Tom Brady win, and I'm tired of watching the games. I want to be one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. I want to win multiple Super Bowls again, is pretty much what he was saying in that interview. But then all of his actions since then, they weren't focused on what puts you in the best position to win. It's what made Russ and the brand of Russ look better, and he cared more about trying to be an icon than a football quarterback. You could be a good quarterback and well-respected publicly, but for Russell Wilson, your brand is football. And if you aren't a great quarterback anymore, you're not going to become this icon and this legendary figure. And Russ lost track of his priorities. He cared more about the image and the off-the-field stuff rather than actually showing up and balling out.
And part of it, I think, also with Russ was, I think he was so big-headed that he thought that the best way for him to win was for him to go to a situation where he was the guy, right? And so part of it may have been ego, and part of it may have been image and brand.
But the
I think
irony
the other
was,
part of it was him thinking I need to be the guy in order for my team to win, and the Seahawks won't let me do that.
But the irony was he was the guy towards the end in Seattle. Not when they won, but he was the guy towards the end in Seattle. And all Pete Carroll was saying, and Pete's defense has had problems, so he's not exonerated either, but all Pete was saying to Russ was, you want to cook more, we'll let you cook. But then his interceptions went up. And then when they had him throw the ball fewer times, his interceptions went down. They were just never able to find that happy medium. And that ultimately deteriorated that relationship. But if you have Russell Wilson throwing the ball 45, 50 times a game, that's not a formula for success, even in a pass-heavy league that we're now accustomed to in the NFL. The defensive player of the week, so I just thought it was weird. I don't know if there's something more to this jersey being sent or things like that. I just think it's weird all around. And that's Russ's biggest problem. If there's some nice meaning to it, fine. But Russ just can't send anything out. He's almost like his own worst enemy at this stage of his career. Just focus on the Steelers. Don't do anything cheesy. I know you can't help yourself. Just go focus on football and ball out this year. The Defensive Player of the Week is sponsored by the Navy Federal Credit Union, who proudly serves the armed forces, DoD veterans, and their families. Their members are the mission. Learn more at NavyFederal.org. This week's player is Portugal goalkeeper. Do you like this guy, Stu? Diego Costa?
I do. He's very good.
Okay. Samter, do you have any read on Diego Costa?
He was a baller in the PK shootout. That's for damn sure.
Okay. And Costa put the team on his back in yesterday's win over Slovenia in the Euros. He pitched a shutout for 120 minutes and then saved all 3 shots that came his way during penalties. What round are we in? in this stuff.
We are in the round of 16 and about to be in the quarterfinals starting on, I believe, Friday is when the quarterfinals kick back off.
So the U.S. was out in the round of 16, the round of 32?
Different. That's Copa
this
America.
is totally different?
Yes, totally different.
This is the Euros. This is the European team.
Oh, this is okay.
Yes, because Portugal's not in.
There's just too much
any
going
of the
on with
Americas.
this.
There's
this
only
soccer
the
stuff.
Copa America only has 16 teams, 8 of them advance, and USA couldn't even be one of those 8 teams.
Oh, well, that's funny.
It's
I've
pretty
just been
bad.
seeing all soccer on my timeline, and there's all these bunch of different stuff and different tournaments, I guess you call them now, or leagues.
And the fact that, well, I mean, no, they've always been around. Just now people are more interested in them. But the fact that the Copa America was here in the U.S. and the U.S. still fell short. Typically, when we see whether it's the Olympics or the World Cup, the home hosting team always has a huge advantage. Whether it's the fans or just location, being close to home, whatever it is, we always see teams outplay their abilities when they're playing and it's hosting on their turf. And the U.S. was the opposite.
Okay, so the U.S., how far did they make it in this?
They did not get out of pool play. Pool play is basically the first round.
So is the coach Dunzo?
He's going to be, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, he's had a lot of failures with a very talented U.S. team.
Was it the last World Cup, I think it was, that the U.S. didn't qualify?
No, that was a few ago. The last one, they actually made it out of their group and then played the Netherlands, and they lost to the Netherlands.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was what, then two World Cups ago they didn't even
2018,
qualify?
I believe. Yes.
The last time I was really pumped up for a soccer game, and this is when I just started to dislike soccer. I'm talking men's soccer. The women's soccer has been very entertaining throughout the last decade or so. Was when U.S. played England. And Rob Green had the ball go through his legs. That, to me, was the last vivid soccer memory I had. And that game ended in a tie. And I get from the points and to advance why it was important. But all that energy that I put into, to see a tie, that I was very frustrated.
That's 14 years ago.
A long time ago.
Yeah, 2010.
No, I remember my buddies and I, we all got together. It was I think a morning. We were watching the game, or early afternoon. Everyone was jacked up for the game, and I was into it. And that's the day soccer lost me, because I'm I didn't even get an outcome here. I got a tie. I need a win or a loss.
The one thing I'll say, though, is after these group stages, where it's kind of like a round robin, then it becomes single elimination.
Oh, no, I understand what I was.
And you're not getting any ties. You're getting penalty shootouts, kind of like what we saw with Portugal and Slovenia yesterday.
And I understand that the point helped them, and the whole explanation from 14 years ago, I get it. I understand what you're saying. But that's when I was out on soccer.
And just remind me, when did hockey get rid of ties?
2006, I think? 7, something like that, early. Yeah.
Yeah, and how old were you at that point? Were you a hockey fan when ties existed in hockey?
So you're going back to Samter when I was in middle school.
All right.
You're going back to the...
0506.
0506? I don't even think I was in middle school then.
Okay, and we're talking about a World Cup that was, 14 years ago, which was 4 years later. It was basically around the same time. It was high school rather than middle school. And so you're turning off soccer
totally different
because of ties rather than not turning off of hockey when there were ties your whole life. And then it changed.
How did you know I was a big hockey fan then at that point in 2005?
I would imagine knowing your sports history.
How did you know?
I would imagine knowing
I was young and dumb. 2005.
I'm assuming that you didn't start liking hockey the day they got rid of ties. That's my guess.
Exactly was. They got rid of ties. I was like, hey, way to go. Hey, there we go. I'm in on the hockey. Let's do that hockey now.
Does someone smell burning? I smell burning. Something's on fire.
Who, me? Thank you. Oh, that's very nice.
Yeah.
What? You call me a liar?
I'm going back to middle school. Liar, liar, pants on fire. I can smell the burning from here.
Gotcha. Got any vacation coming up soon?
yeah, Thursday, Friday.
I'm just kidding. Who's a sleeper team in the NFL, by the way? We got to carry through on this 30-something minutes later. Go ahead. You first, Samter. Let's get your answer out of the way. Let's get your trolling answer out of the way first.
We were talking about Russ Wilson. I think the Steelers.
That
division is stacked. The offense is decent. You got a quarterback finally.
Though? All right, so let me ask you this.
Well, what place do you have them finishing in that division right now? Third or fourth?
I have the Bengals going first, finishing first. Ravens 2. I put the Steelers 3.
You have them over the Browns? You've been all over the Browns.
I like the Browns, but Chubb coming off the injury, Watson, I would love to see him faceplant once again. The Steelers and Browns are interchangeable. I'll go Steelers slightly right now over the Browns. Slightly. You could order those teams, by the way, 1 through 4, and I would not argue.
It just feels like a lot of people are down on the Steelers, a team without a quarterback last year and an injured superstar towards the end, TJ Watt, that still made the playoffs, and they still have Mike Tomlin. This is a team that, with the quarterback, I mean, they can finish second in that division. They can win a playoff game or two. Maybe not two, but win a playoff game.
Didn't Watt get hurt 2 years ago? I don't think Watt was hurt last year.
Didn't he get hurt towards the end of the year?
No, I think we had the same conversation.
Yeah, maybe it was 2 years ago. But either way, they basically had no quarterback. They couldn't advance the ball. They had the worst offensive coordinator in football, and they still made the playoffs. And now
it may not have been
100%,
but Watt played 17 games last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe
the year before that had 10.
I always just think of Watt as being hurt. That's my fault. It's the Watt family.
So you're going with the Steelers?
Yes.
So at their best, what do you think they're capable of accomplishing this year?
Either second or even winning the division and probably winning a playoff game, maybe two. If they're if Russell Wilson and the offense really clicks with that defense, they can absolutely AFC title game. That's their absolute peak, I think.
Okay, Stu, who's your sleeper team?
I would go with the Colts. I like
that answer.
I think they have a good chance to maybe win that division. Obviously, Anthony Richardson, seeing what he does after not really playing a lot last year, is going to be interesting to see. I just think I like the talent they have, and they have a very manageable schedule as well.
I'll tell you, I usually hate the Colts just because of the whole Manning-Brady rivalry and also the Deflategate nonsense and all them crying.
Cheaters.
But you know what? I'm ignoring Samter for the rest of the show. That fly's just buzzing around the studio. Where's my fly swatter? Got to get rid of him. But I think the Colts have potential to be a really damn good team this year. Now, they need Richardson to be healthy. He only played 4 or 5 games last year. But, man, he was exciting and fun to watch. I would have no problem if the Colts are a 10-11 win team this year. And they end up making the playoffs. I'm going Jacksonville, though, in that division. A year before they got to the second round, they lose to Kansas City, that epic comeback up against the Chargers. Peterson's Super Bowl winning coach. Lawrence had a down year last year. They were still 9-8, even with their struggles. They were miserable down the stretch. Everyone's going to pick the Texans to win that division. And I'm very optimistic on the Houston Texans. It would not shock me if Jacksonville wins that division. I think Jacksonville's going to bounce back. But the AFC, man, every team in the AFC North can make the playoffs. 3 teams in the AFC East can make the playoffs. The AFC South, Texans, Jaguars, Colts can all make the playoffs. And in the AFC West, it's just the Chiefs. The Raiders suck. The Broncos suck. And then the Chargers, right? It's Harbaugh and Herbert, but I don't think they're going to be anything special this year. I still think they're a year away. All righty. It is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We'll come on back. Is the NBA better without super teams? We'll discuss. Update time. Here he is, the Ackman, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network. Sports Flash.
Well, the Cavaliers have a new coach and are keeping their star happy, coming to terms with Donovan Mitchell on a 3-year extension worth $150 million. At the end of this deal, he'll be able to pursue a new one of 5 years, $380 million. Mitchell has been an all-star the last 5 years. 4-time All-Star Kemba Walker officially announced his retirement. He did not play in the NBA last year. James Wiseman, the second pick in the 2020 draft, has agreed to a 2-year deal with the Pacers. Mo Wagner gets 2 years from the Magic, worth $22 million. The Phillies' 55 wins are the most in baseball, but they've hit some adversity with their 2 biggest offensive producers, Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper, on the injured list. They'll take on the Cubs tonight at Wrigley, and they rallied Sunday to beat the Marlins. Manager Rob Thompson said that win silenced the critics.
Just because, there's all the talk, right? The 3 guys are out. How are you going to score a run? All that stuff. Well, we're going to score runs. These guys are capable. I've said that. So, we just got to keep grinding, and maybe we have to create some stuff too, hit and run, steal some bases. So those are the little things you got to do.
The St. Louis Blues signed Pavel Buchnevich to a 6-year, $48 million extension. I'm Rich Ackerman.
Hey, like us on Facebook. Our handle is INF Sportsnet. That's INF Sportsnet for our Facebook page. This is the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Infinity Sports Network.
This portion of the show is brought to you by Wesley Financial. Stuck in a timeshare and want out? Contact Wesley Financial Group now and get a free timeshare exit information kit at wesleyfinancialgroup.com. So I was on the elliptical earlier this morning doing my daily hour elliptical ride, and I get a phone call from Denver, Colorado. So at first, I thought there was some emergency because my sister, my brother-in-law, my niece, they live out there in Denver, Colorado. I've only ever talked to them via their cell phone. So I'm like, oh, maybe they're calling me from somewhere, and that's when it comes up. Because usually if it's a random number, I just won't pick up. And I don't know if I got scammed or not. I really don't know. It wasn't my niece. It wasn't, well, my niece is only 2 years old. But it wasn't my niece. It was not my brother-in-law, and it wasn't my sister calling me. It was someone from FedEx, Samter. And they had my name. They had my address of this studio, 345 Hudson Street. And they obviously had my cell phone number. Now, they never asked for any payment or anything. They just said, we're delivering you a package tomorrow. And we want to know what floor you're on. Because the person that sent this didn't put a floor on it. So it was so specific, and it wasn't like they were asking me for my credit card or anything like that. And it sounds like a legit dispatcher.
It does sound sketchy, but if all they're asking for is the floor.
Right? What are they getting out of it?
Yeah, I would have just told them the floor, and then whatever they want to scam out of the floor that we're on,
sure.
Whatever.
And that's the thing, too. If it was my personal... this violates all those HR videos that we had to take it about what you're not supposed to do when someone contacts you.
Yeah, but you can also find our information online, probably through Google search.
Not only that,
we have security downstairs. We have gates that you have to go through.
Not only that, each and every day I say live from the palatial yet not overly ostentatious studios of the Infinity Sports Network in beautiful New York City, sitting on top of the 10th floor on 345 Hudson Street.
There you go. So, I mean, honestly,
so I actually think it's legit.
I wouldn't worry about that.
And I didn't order anything, so someone must be sending me something. It could probably be a PR person because they had my cell phone number. They said on the label. They just didn't have the floor.
If it's a white powder, because then, we have to get the whole hazmat suit on.
You think someone's anthraxing me now?
Listen, I mean, you have some very hot takes, and you may have pissed off the wrong fan base. Or maybe they're going after your producer who, called out Josh Allen on the Bills or whatever else may have come out of my mouth.
Now you're... I thought you were talking about my ex-producer in Hickey, because he's called out Josh Allen before.
You brought Hickey in for his birthday, and I kind of, shrugged it off because whatever. You did nothing for my birthday. But now here you are. I said your producer, and your first mind goes into Hickey.
Well, you said Josh Allen.
He hasn't been your producer in a year.
You said Josh Allen.
Yeah, and I literally
Hickey had a viral Josh Allen
2
take.
weeks ago.
Hickey had a viral Josh Allen take that did 1 million views when he said that the Bills should trade Josh Allen.
Yeah, like a year ago when he wasn't your producer. I just said your producer who had a Josh Allen take 2 weeks ago.
Honestly,
I'm just saying. But listen, I'm starting to get a little hurt here. I'm starting to get a little upset.
What was it, Stu, that we were joking about last week? Oh, I took Stu to the Met-Yankee game when you were out. And Stu goes, Santer's going to say, you take Stu to a Met-Yankee game and not me?
No, for your defense, you have offered to take me to games and go to events and stuff together, and we've done stuff together.
Sure.
But
we've had very nice dinners.
Listen, Maggie,
Santa's
I'm really
bougie.
sorry. Maggie, I'm sorry. It's just sometimes it gets too much.
You just call me Maggie?
Zach, sorry. See,
that's fine. I'll take that as a compliment. I think our listeners now confuse all the producers together because I don't. Maybe it's a me problem. Whoever I work with, like Mike Biseglia, who I worked with, has crazy NBA takes, super sensitive about the NBA. Hickey, dumb takes over and over again. You yesterday telling me that there's 25 players in the NBA that you rather have over Jalen Brunson. What is it about me that I get paired up with these producers that just say some of the dumbest things I've ever heard? I'll say enough dumb things. I don't need my producers jumping into the pool with me and drowning.
I mean, listen, you're very energetic. You yell a lot. You have very strong opinions on things, and you get me all riled up. And when I get all riled up, I want to say crazy things. Yeah. But I didn't say that there's 25 players better. I said that I put them in that 20-25 range, and as I went through the list, that's kind of where I have them.
Backtracking already. I've learned this about Santer.
I'll
he
go
throws
back
out a
and get the
number,
tape. And
then when you press
tape.
him on it, he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go back a little bit."
No,
do you have that list, by the way, of all those players?
Yeah, I do.
All right, go ahead. Give me your list.
All right,
and this is entering this season who I'd rather have.
Yeah, so 16 guys I absolutely would rather have over Jalen Brunson right now. Jokic, Embiid, Giannis.
Hold on. Jokic, Embiid, Giannis. Yes.
SGA.
Yep.
Luka.
Okay.
LeBron. AD. Tatum. Kyrie. Booker.
Hold on. I'm just writing down the ones that I disagree with.
Okay.
Give me those names one more time. Just go quickly.
LeBron, AD, Tatum, Kyrie, Booker, KD.
Okay.
Jamal Murray, Steph Curry, Anthony Edwards, Jaylen Brown, John Morant. Those are the 16 I would take every day of the week and twice on Sunday over Jalen Brunson.
Okay. Here's the one that I would disagree with. Kyrie, I don't know if his head's going to be screwed on to start this season. Devin Booker. Maybe 2 years ago, I get Devin Booker's an incredible player, but I'm more impressed with what Brunson did this past season than Booker. I love Jamal Murray, but I trust Jalen Brunson's a number one. Murray is not. John Morant, is he healthy? Is he going to stay off of Instagram? Because if he's healthy and stays off Instagram, sure, Morant over Brunson, but that was already a problem before the injuries last year. Jaylen Brown's a good one, man. Here's the thing.
Really? Jaylen Brown or Jalen Brunson? Really?
If Jaylen
That's
Brown
not even a conversation.
If it was up until Jaylen Brown won a championship, because most people would have took Jalen Brunson. Yeah, I would go because of the championship. I'd slightly go Brown over Brunson, but I don't think Murray, Booker, Kyrie. What?
The championship did nothing to me. Like Jaylen Brown on this list, if you want to question Booker, sure. You want to question
Brown was one of the more
Jamal
disrespected
Murray.
players, even with the contract that he got.
But to me, in my eyes, Jaylen Brown is so far above and beyond Brunson, it's not worth the conversation.
That's ridiculous. They're close. You can't say so far and beyond.
He's way above. If you want to argue Jamal Murray, Booker, sure, I can have that conversation.
Put it this way.
Not
when
Brown.
you say so far and beyond, and this is not me trying to sound like a douche. It's going to come off that way. I'll preface it. That's like me saying I'm significantly taller than you. That's so far and above and beyond. That's not the separation with Brown and Brunson.
I put Jaylen Brown probably somewhere around that 12, 13 range.
So you gave me 15 or 16 names.
Yeah, I just gave you 16.
Okay. So specific.
Yeah.
Look at that.
So that's 16. Now I've got 12 other names that I think are right around that par. Most are probably below Brunson, but guys that I think that you could have the argument. Spider Mitchell.
No.
Right? 100%. He's had some great playoff appearances.
I'm just saying I'd rather have Brunson.
Significantly better career averages, better PER over his career.
Brunson just started to break out.
Yeah, and he's like, what, 28, 27? Like, how many guys break out at 28?
He got to a conference finals with the Mavericks, and now has the Knicks actually relevant.
And then the Mavericks
just give me
walk.
the names real quickly.
Okay.
And look how that worked out.
Okay. Kawhi Leonard. Obviously, he's always hurt, but like carried a team to a title on his shoulders.
Never healthy.
Right, but when he's healthy, he's not there
Who you
yet.
give me Michael Jordan next too?
Yeah, he's not there yet.
Kawhi's never healthy.
He's not there yet. But Wemby, I'll take Wemby. If I have to choose right now, I'm taking Wemby.
Sure.
Damian Lillard. He's obviously had an off year, but he's still Lillard.
I give you Dame.
Okay. De'Aaron Fox.
No, I'd rather Brunson.
Probably.
And I love Fox.
Jimmy Butler.
No.
It's tight. Tyrese Halliburton. I'd probably take Brunson over Halliburton. Zion.
Wait, you rather have Brunson than Halliburton?
Yeah.
Okay.
Same thing with Zion, but it's close. But Brunson over Zion. Tyrese Maxey, I'd probably go. It's close.
Maxey, he's
close.
good. Come on.
Very good.
You are being so.
Paul George. I know. These are guys I said most of them.
I'm cutting you off.
Okay.
Zip your lip for a second. You went from crushing me earlier in the year when I'm saying there's an outside chance Brunson could win the MVP, and you're like, oh, I was wrong on that. He's actually very valuable. And now, like, you're saying he's like not even a top 25 player in the league? What are we doing?
I said he's top 20, 25.
What are we doing? Brunson is... He's easily a top 20 player in the league. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Alrighty, rocking and rolling hour number 3 of our radio program. You know, I'm curious what people think about this. And let me preface it by saying, I'm not anti-super team. I thought the super team era has produced a lot of memorable NBA moments. Whether it was the big three in Boston with Paul Pierce, the big ticket in Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen. Then we know the big three in Miami that won 2 championships with LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh. When it got to the Warriors, that's when I think people were really out on super teams, because the Warriors were already a team that, yes, they blew a 3-1 lead in the NBA Finals, but they had the most wins in NBA regular season history. They didn't need Kevin Durant, but getting Kevin Durant, he then became their best player in that run. He won 2 more championships and 2 more finals MVPs. And it felt like you knew what the story was each and every year with the NBA. It was just the Warriors were going to win. But since that group did break up, and since Kevin Durant, right, elected to go to Brooklyn and recover from the injury and now be in Phoenix, and the Warriors super team was no longer, and then yesterday you find out Klay Thompson was past his prime, but he's going over to the Dallas Mavericks, that it made me just elicit this thought. You know, actually the NBA is in a better spot right now without the super teams than with them. Because yes, the super team gave you a villain. The super team gave you someone to root against. And sure, when Boston was a super team, they only won 1 championship. The Heat, heck, they won 2 championships. They were talking about winning like 7, 10, 14, 103. They lost 2 other championships to the Spurs and to the Oklahoma City Thunder. But the Warriors version of the super team, even though they were fun to watch because of the Splash Brothers, and you had Durant, and you knew they could make a shot anywhere on the court, you knew how the season was going to end. Now, I wish we could get the best of both worlds. You know, I'm not talking about the super team, but have this non-super team era where everyone's going all out in the regular season. And that would make for a great NBA product, but I'm realistic. I know with load management, and when you have to put a rule in place to meet 65 games to be eligible for awards, the regular season product's never going to be what it probably should be. But you enter this upcoming NBA season, and even if you've seen in the aftermath of the Warriors breaking up, like we saw the Lakers win that championship with LeBron and AD. We saw the Bucks, who were close, eventually punch through, win a championship with Giannis Antetokounmpo and Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday. We saw Denver with Nikola Jokic, who's already a 3-time MVP, or now 3-time MVP. He was 2-time MVP when he won his first finals. That was fun. And then this past year, the Boston Celtics, they finally got through as well. You know, it's fun when you go into a season, even though the Celtics were the best team from start to finish, but truly not knowing who the champion's going to be. And now entering this season in just the East, you got Boston, the reigning champs. You got the Knicks, who were able to add Mikal Bridges. The Bucks, I got to think they bounce back with Giannis Antetokounmpo and also Damian Lillard. Donovan Mitchell, surprising everybody, elects to sign a new contract with the Cavs. The Magic are young, up and coming. I like them with Paolo Banchero. Pacers were a gritty team last year. The Sixers just added Paul George. The Heat still have Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo for now. Like, that's 8 teams right there in the East. They're going to be fun to watch. And that's not always the case. And then in the West, I know we talked about how I think the East is better than the West now. But the Thunder, you know, that may be the next team that I'm hoping wins a championship. Because I love watching Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And Stu, I actually think you like the Thunder too. Even though it, you know, if the Thunder win, it means your Lakers did squat. But with how much you hate the Clippers, you got to be very happy that in that Thunder trade for Paul George, and Doc Rivers, right, he was saying, oh, you know, SGA's great, and, you know, that's what he claims. And they knew that he was going to be a stud. But now to see what the Thunder ended up getting from that deal, with all those picks, they get SGA, and now Paul George is out of the Clippers. For someone like Stu who loves to stomp on the Clippers, which I don't even get why, but it's that big brother, little brother kind of relationship, Lakers and Clippers, which I think is a bunch of nonsense. You even got to be pulling a little bit for the Thunder as well, right?
Yeah, I like SGA. I think he's a very good player. You almost forget he was a Clipper. It's crazy. Yeah. Like, it's been so long already. I also don't fault the Clippers for doing that because, like, you were getting at the time 2 of the best, I don't know, 7, 8 players in the league.
I don't know. If you ask Sam today, maybe like 60 and 73 in terms of those two guys in the league. You never know.
But yeah, it's hard to fault the Clippers for doing that. I think almost any team would have done that. They gave up a ton, and now the Thunder.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
Yeah.
But the way that it aged.
It did not age well for them at all.
Kawhi's not healthy, and Paul George isn't on the team anymore.
Yeah. The Thunder have already had almost as much success as they've had just with, getting to the playoffs this year and being what were they, the 1 or 2 seed, I believe? They were the 1 seed, so yeah.
And I'll tell you this. If I'm buying stock in the East and the West, the two teams that I hope, no one's ever said this on a national radio show before. If you tell me in 2 or 3 years from now, we have an NBA Finals featuring the Thunder and the Orlando Magic, I'll be like a fat kid in a candy store. I love Paolo Banchero. And I'm not ready to say that the Magic are going to be great. And that's probably more so a product of just the compete level in the NBA regular season, and they are going all out because they're a young team. But what they did this year, going 47-35, they were fun to watch. But in the West, we went through the East, now you go through the West, the Thunder, Nuggets, Timberwolves, the Clippers, I think everyone's out on them now. Kawhi's got to stay healthy, and Paul George isn't there. The fact they bring back James Harden, there's no intrigue there. The Mavericks have intrigue. The Suns have intrigue because it's the Real Housewives of Phoenix now with Durant and Booker and Beal, and that thing has soured very quickly. LeBron and AD, they're probably a play-in tournament team. Pelicans, we'll see. Kings, can you bounce back? But, you go into this year, if I had to ask you guys this right now, and this is the point, who gets to the NBA Finals? Who's coming out of the East? Who's coming out of the West? Stu, let's go around the room here. Stu, who comes out of the East? Just right now with the teams, the way that they're constructed.
I still think the Celtics do.
You still think it's the Celtics?
Yeah.
Samter, who would be your answer there? Who comes out of the East?
Celtics or Bucks? I'm going Celtics.
You're going to go Celtics. I'd probably go Milwaukee right now. I would take the Bucks, Giannis, and Dame bouncing back. I'm telling you, if it's a major if George and Embiid could stay healthy, they've built a very good team in Philadelphia. And the Knicks are going to be a heck of a lot of fun, too. I think the Knicks, though, I think more conference finals than NBA finals, though, right now. And then in the West, if you had to pick a team to go to the finals, is it Timberwolves? Is it the Nuggets? Is it the Mavericks?
You don't think Bronny James is leading the Lakers?
Just answer the question. Can you just answer the question?
I'm probably going Timberwolves. I'm going T-Wolves over Nuggets.
Okay.
I am also going with the Timberwolves. I think
you are.
I are, yeah. I am, yeah.
I
are.
I'm going Denver. I think Denver bounces back. And if it's not Denver, I'll say OKC makes that next step.
I was between OKC and the Timberwolves.
So even if we had some of the same answers and then they were different depending on the conference, it makes you think about it, though.
It's tough.
The Celtics, because they're the defending champs, naturally everyone's going to gravitate towards them. But it's not a lot that they get back to the NBA Finals in the East. Everyone just crushed them for 3-4 years about coming up short. And yeah, they got through. They won the championship. But it doesn't make them a lot to get back there next year. Now you'll see Porzingis heals, but they've been able to keep that team intact. With the deals that they've got done and the way that those players are locked up on the contract. You see their owners now selling the team with Grossbeck? I think he plans to remain in control, kind of like a Cuban deal to 2028 or something like that. But how about that move by Wick? You paid all those contracts, and now you're selling the team.
But, it's like the opposite of the T-Wolves in a sense. He's selling high, whereas the T-Wolves were selling low, and then they got good so that, Glenn Taylor pulled back. It's brilliant. They just won a title. Mm-hmm. They're,
I was very surprised, though, to read that yesterday, that Wick Grossbeck is selling the team.
He probably wanted to sell for a while, but just wanted to get that title. And then once they won it, it was time. I can't imagine it's a split second, hey, we won the title, let me sell. He was probably I want to sell, but I need to at least get a title. I need to get a ring as the owner before I could sell.
Is it because of the contracts, though, now? The Celtics, he's going to sell them for $5 or $6 billion probably? Whatever, anywhere between $4 to $6 billion, he's going to sell them for. So
the contracts, I mean, listen, I know they're paying a luxury tax off it, but for billionaires, that kind of luxury tax money it's like a drop in the bucket. You're not selling a team because of luxury tax contract
63,
money.
but for an owner, that's pretty damn young.
Yeah. But listen, if you can make $5-6 billion off the sale of a team, buy an extra island or two more private jets.
You know what? This is just from Sporting News. This can't be true. Wait, it says Wick Grossbeck's net worth is only $400 million. I say only, like to us, we'd love to have a net worth of like $6 million or whatever. But Grossbeck's net worth, according to Sporting News, is estimated $400 million. It's kind of, you would think it's more than that. Now, another website said it was $1 billion in 2024. Now, there is one website that claims my net worth is like that it says I make like $6 million a year, which I don't even know.
Congrats. That's great.
Yeah, right? Man, I would love to know where my name was and where I was when I signed that contract.
Now, there might be some confusion. He bought the team for about $400 million. According to Forbes, he's at about $2 billion, 1.8 to $2 billion.
Mm-hmm.
And
so he bought the team for $360 million, you said?
Yes.
And now he could sell them for like anywhere between $4 to $6 billion.
Yes.
Jeez. But these articles that just came up, this from 13 hours ago, Wick Grossbeck has an estimated net worth of $1 billion in 2024. And this article, Sporting News, says $400 million. And then another one says $1 billion. And you're saying it was what, $2 billion?
Yeah, I think a lot of net worth is based off of assets and debt and this and that. When you know that you're selling a team, that probably increases your net value. And also, he has an estate and he has like all these different kinds of charitable organizations and family different holdings.
Yeah.
So
no, it says his father's net worth is $1.8 billion.
Yeah, so he's probably close to the $1 billion range, would be my guess.
Yeah, I guess.
Still not bad.
So, like, for example, Mark Cuban's estimated net worth is $5.4 billion. So, like, when he sold the Celtics, it's like, whoa, didn't see that one coming. I mean, the Mavericks.
I was like, Mark Cuban owned the Celtics? I don't know that.
Like, we didn't see that one coming. But, like, Wick Grossbeck, I didn't see it either. But I guess the further you delve into, it's more so like, okay, if you're only $1 or $2 billion, you go make $4-6 billion. But is that ever going to really go down? I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, generally, the operating income of most of these teams is so high anyway. You're making so much money every year as an owner. And obviously, you're making a significant amount of money once you sell as well. I don't think a lot of these guys, these billionaires, are making decisions based off of financial reasons. Like they're so rich anyway. Like selling the team for $5 billion, it's nice. But when you're worth $1 billion, like, what's the difference?
Yeah, no, for sure. So I think I misspoke, by the way, earlier when we were talking about LeBron and the super teams. I think I said that they lost the finals to the Thunder and the Spurs. It was the Mavs and the Spurs, just to correct myself on that. But anyway, to the bigger point here, do you miss the super teams at all? Stu, do you miss the super team era? Getting back into that conversation.
I don't. I definitely don't, because I think it's now we are at a point where it wasn't guaranteeing a title for the super teams, but it almost felt that way. Like the fact that the Warriors didn't win all those titles every year, it was like
the
pretty shocking.
Injuries derailed them. But even going into like those Heat years, like it was just too much at a point where you knew that team was going to contend. Now, like we kind of talked about earlier, there's 6, 7, 8 teams that you could legitimately say could be in the NBA Finals next year. I don't miss the super team era with the Warriors. I do a little bit. I still like how it is now, not knowing who's going to get there. The Celtics only won one championship. They lost the finals to the Lakers. The Heat, right? You go back. They lost the first year to the Mavs. They beat the Thunder. They beat the Spurs, and they lose to the Spurs. So it was a lock that they would get there, but it wasn't a lock that they would win it. Like, if you tell me we have more Celtics and Heat teams in the super team era, I'm okay with that. But if it's the Warriors, and I'm talking about the Warriors with KD, then it's like, why are we even playing? Because you knew who was going to win that championship just as long as everybody was healthy. But I do lean more your way, Stu, where I think now these last 3-4 years of not truly knowing who's going to win, if the regular season is going to be dog crap either way, at least let me go into a postseason not knowing who's going to win the championship. So that's why I lean more with Stu. Samter, are you missing any of these super teams or no?
I prefer this, but there is some part of the super team that you miss. Like sports, we like greatness, right? We like watching repeats and three-peats. We like watching teams dominate, players dominate, and then we like to see someone else take them over. We want to see greatness in sports. So seeing, this partisan kind of very level playing field, it's exciting, but it's also not it's not as.
There's no hatred in the NBA right now.
No.
Like for example, when the Celtics formed that super team, and you saw it more so with the Heat and the Warriors, when they formed those super teams, it was clear that there's a villain. The NBA, this would play into why some people may miss the super teams. And there's good and bad. At least we don't know who's going to win the championship each and every year. But who's the villain right now in the NBA? I don't think the NBA has a villain right now.
Draymond?
But he's not a great player anymore. Draymond, to me, he's relevant, but he's irrelevant, if you know what I'm saying. And what I mean by that is, he's relevant because he does stupid things. But if Draymond didn't do stupid things on a basketball court, we're just saying, that was a player that was once very good, going to be a Hall of Famer, and now, his career is just coming to a close.
Is Kyrie still a villain? Or are we buying that he's changed? I feel like Kyrie's a villain.
I think Kyrie's just an ass.
Yeah, he's kind of villainous, and the way he kind of antagonized. Oh, I'm past the whole thing with the Celtics and the fans.
He's a liar.
And then he antagonized them.
No, but he looked like a fool.
Yeah,
because he didn't antagonize them. In the NBA Finals, he tried to tell you that everything was all good, and the Celtics own real estate in his head, and the fan base owns real estate in his head. If you want to tell me KD's still a villain, sure, but part of being a villain, part of being a villain. You also have to throw it back in people's faces. KD right now with the Suns, what are they doing? Nothing the last 2 years. So that's a thing. You need a villain that also is in the NBA Finals and can win. KD right now is not winning anything. So there's really no villain in the NBA right now. That's the only part that I miss about it. Because you'd walk into years saying, oh, I hate Kevin Durant with the Warriors. Or I hate LeBron with the Miami Heat. It was polarizing. And I'm not saying it was a 50-50 split because I think more people dislike the super teams than not. But I was kind of on the island where I was like, who gives a rat's ass if LeBron goes to Miami? I didn't like the way how he did it. But, him going there, he has the right to choose. I didn't like how KD did it, but he has the right to choose. I respected that.
I think part of it is we might enjoy the moment of it now because there's uncertainty. Mm-hmm. But when we look back, we're going to remember this era of just being kind of good basketball, right? We think about the 90s. It was the Bulls for 6 titles, the Rockets for 2. We think about the 2000s, right? The Lakers dynasty, the Spurs dynasty. You think about that. That's how you remember sports. You remember the dynasty, the Yankees in the 90s, right? You remember the Steelers in the 70s. We're not going to have any of that right now. For the next 5 or 6 years, it feels like it's just going to be every year a new team, which is great for the viewing experience in the moment. But we're going to look back at this time being it was kind of a downtime in basketball.
I would disagree with the way that you ended that just because everyone keeps on telling you the big guy is going away.
Like the big man?
Yeah, a lot of people say, the big guy isn't what it once used to be. 3 out of the top 5 players in the league are big guys right now.
Yeah, but they're big guys with outside game.
Sure. Now, it's a different standard of a big, but Nikola Jokic, big guy. Giannis Antetokounmpo, big guy. Joel Embiid, big guy.
But here's the thing. They might be the 3 best players in the NBA, but big guys aren't nearly as interesting. Shaq was interesting, right?
You don't think Embiid's interesting?
He is, but would you rather
You don't think Giannis is interesting?
No, but we're talking about who you're wanting to watch.
Nikola Jokic has a personality of a dud, but I love watching Nikola
interesting,
Jokic.
To watch. I'm talking about yes, Embiid's funny behind the mic, all that, but you're telling me you'd rather watch Embiid or Anthony Edwards or LeBron or
okay,
whatever. Michael. We remember the stars, Michael Jordan, Kobe. There were a few big guys that we really loved watching. Shaq was one of them, right? Hakeem maybe, but we don't remember the big guys.
Kareem, Bill Russell.
Yeah, but even Kareem, as good as Kareem was, people didn't love watching Kareem.
Okay,
you know what I mean? People love watching Bird and Magic. Because it's more fun. Steph Curry, it's fun.
Well,
big guys
but that's
aren't
the
as
thing,
fun
though.
to watch.
The game is changing because the guard is usually where the scoring comes from.
Right.
Now your big guy can knock down threes. Victor Wembanyama, you look at him, you're he's got to play. He'll be he's an elite rim protector, and he could also, through time, has, the handles and the shot range. That's just what it is now. Big guys are now stretch big guys where they got to have an outside game too. Now, we'll infuriate you sometimes when like Embiid is just hitting trying to hit 3 after 3 and he'll go cold, but that he could definitely hit them. And then sometimes you want to see him go down low more. So that's really how I think, like these last few years, and that's what I think you were saying, Santo, like these last 3, 4, 5 years, I think they're really defined by the range of the big fella. That's how I'm going to look back at this era. But you're not wrong when you are a guard like Steph and you could do what Steph could do shooting the basketball. That is more entertaining. Like watching Steph Curry and what he was able to do at the range, shoot the 3-point shots, even though how awesome Nikola Jokic and Giannis and Embiid are, I do find from a watching standpoint, yes, it is more entertaining to watch Steph Curry. All right, it's Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We will come on back. Horns down. Is it going to be allowed this year? We'll discuss next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Infinity Sports Network.
Alrighty, this is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. A few things in college football. Let me start off with the Utah State story. So earlier this morning, I saw a very ambiguous tweet, and it didn't make any sense, especially with how close to the start of the season. You could only think something ominous had to happen. But Blake Anderson, who I guess that you could say was the coach of Utah State, he was placed on administrative leave. And then Pete Thamel comes out and says it's expected for him not to return as the next football coach. But they didn't give a reason, back as the football coach, but they didn't give a reason why. So I'm reading that and I'm like, something's up here. Now, if you're not familiar with Blake Anderson, his wife passed away a few years ago from cancer. And not that long ago as well, his son committed suicide. So at first I'm thinking like maybe something happened personally and, Blake Anderson just needs his space because he's obviously been through a lot more than anyone could imagine. And then I went to his Twitter, and like a few days ago, I guess he's remarried. He had another child who was born prematurely. So I'm like sitting there, and I'm trying to think, maybe something happened in his personal life. And then it comes out, and this is from Utah State, the decision to put him on administrative leave comes after a thorough external review of alleged non-compliance with university policies that implement Title IX, which require full and timely reporting of disclosures of sexual misconduct, including domestic violence, and prohibit employees from investigating disclosures of sexual misconduct themselves. So that's pretty much the main part of the statement. They also said, as leaders, we are responsible for ensuring allegations of Utah State University policy violations are investigated. Today's actions are the result of a thorough external investigation, and we believe the evidence demands immediate action. Our job is to fearlessly hold ourselves and others accountable for their conduct, and to make sure that for the sake of our students and our community, we are living in the values of our university. While recognizing the impact of these decisions on our student athletes and football program, we will continue to take the steps necessary to deliver a respectful, transparent, and winning culture at Utah State University. So that's all we know from this situation. So I thought first maybe it was a personal thing with Blake Anderson, and now it's something where, according to the statement, it goes back to something in regards to the reporting and the investigation of, something that happened in sexual misconduct or domestic violence. I did read as well, because I was just very intrigued by this, because this came out of nowhere in terms of him being placed on administrative leave. And then terrible things that have happened to Blake Anderson. And if you're placing someone on administrative leave, usually right away there's a reason. And since they didn't give a reason right away, and how we're in this immediate society, my brain starts spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. And it also then later came out, and not that I'm sitting here following Utah State religiously, that, 3 players were arrested throughout the last few years for sexual assault. So I'm assuming this has to be linked going back to the players that were arrested, and it sparked some investigation, and then whatever they found out in the investigation, I'm just going to go on a limb here, obviously was not good enough, for a look in terms of saying Blake Anderson did nothing wrong. I don't know what he did, to be fair, but whatever occurred here was obviously enough to then place him on administrative leave, not give a reason at first, and then basically tell every reporter it's not expected that he's going to come back, and then later still vague things, but at least points you in the direction of what could have transpired there. So that's the Utah State story. Kyle Whittingham, he's not retiring, but they have named a coach in waiting for him at Utah. Now, when we started the College Football Fix back in March, one of the first guests we had on was Kyle Whittingham, and I just naturally asked him. We have that audio? Oh, well, instead of me explaining it, let's just play it right now. Here's Kyle Whittingham with us back in March when I was talking to him about his future.
I love the college game. I love what I'm doing. The passion, the energy that I have at work each day is not changed at all through the years. I can say that the new challenge of going to the Big 12 is it's almost like getting a new job. I mean, it's a whole different set of opportunities and new challenges on the horizon and rejuvenation of sorts. But NIL is certainly put a different spin on things, the transfer portal. But that's okay with me. I mean, you just keep moving and changing and adapting, and even as challenging as it can be, that wouldn't be the primary thing that would drive me into retirement. It's just I'm getting up there, but I still feel like I have a few good years left.
And they named his defensive coordinator, who's been in it with him since like 2006 as the coach in waiting. But Samter, when I go back to that answer, that was a big buildup and trying to talk yourself into that he still loves college football to then say at the end, I'm not going anywhere just yet. Like, I'm not that far away, but I still got some good years left. It's almost like a guy that's been wrestling with knowing the decision that's at hand. Like, you don't want to walk away. And I don't think coaches should be bitching about, NIL and the transfer portal, but it does make it more difficult on them. And you got a guy like Whittingham who's been a coaching lifer and could have left Utah years ago to get a bigger job, but he stayed. And it kind of seems like that's a decision that's right in front of him. Now you're at a point you either retire or you keep on coaching, and you probably don't want to give up coaching just yet. But when you when you put a coach in waiting and name that coach, I'm not saying that you got to get replaced right away. Like it was Mike Hopkins, who was at Syracuse, that was named the coach in waiting, and Boeheim was as stubborn could be and never elected to hang him up, and then he ended up getting the Washington job, and now he's no longer the coach there. But whenever you name a coach in waiting, it doesn't always go as smoothly, but this puts the clock at, really starts to tick on Kyle Whittingham's time at Utah.
And honestly, when I first heard the clip that we played, I didn't really make much of it. But like you said, towards the end, he just said, I'm getting up there. I still have a few more years left. It didn't really hit the finality of that, but a couple more years, a few more years, feels like 2-3 max. So, like, he said that earlier this offseason. Maybe this is his last year. Maybe he has 2 more after this or 1 more after this.
I would say 2 max.
Yeah, I think he's got this year, maybe 1 more year after that.
When I first heard that, I'm like, maybe coach for 3 to 5 more years. Like, maybe he wants to get to 70. He turned 65 in November, something like that.
But now that they named the coach in waiting, you don't wait for 5 years, especially if you're doing well. And, Utah has been a good program, and his DC is going to get opportunities. So you only sign a coach in waiting if you legitimately think that you're probably there in like 2 or 3 years.
And also, like, Kyle Whittingham has probably maxed out what he's been able to do at Utah. Like, this is now another time they're changing conferences. He won 2 Pac-12 championships, right? He went back-to-back years winning the Pac-12. You got Cam Rising. He owes it to Cam Rising because Rising's still there. It would not shock me if at the end of this year, Whittingham says, all right, that's it. Which every time you talk to him, you can still tell he loves football. He still sounds young. Like, I always enjoy my conversations with him throughout the years. But Kyle Whittingham, and Ak, you probably know this a little bit doing Eye on College Football for all those years. Like, there's some coaches that really lay into the brand and the rah-rah of college football. Like, Kyle Whittingham isn't a rah-rah drama kind of guy. I don't think he's going to be one of these guys that drags it out and makes it a year-to-year thing. Are you going to retire? Are you going to retire? Are you going to retire? It would not stun me if this is his final season.
Definitely not. I agree with you. He's football.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't have it in the tank, he's not going to do it. He is one of those guys, you know where you stand with him. There's no bluster. There's no, as you said, drama. There's no salesman there. He is who he is, and he is a football coach. And if he doesn't feel he has it, he's not going to stay longer than he wants to. He's 64. I don't know when he turns 65.
November, yeah.
So he'll be 65. He's had a great run. And people don't realize this. I just remember, I go back to when he first took over for Urban Meyer.
Mm-hmm.
And think of the tenure that he's had there.
And he didn't leave.
He didn't leave. And I go back, I think it was 2008. They played Alabama in the Sugar Bowl. And they annihilated them. I mean, it wasn't even close. And Alabama, came in with Nick Saban, and maybe they were a little upset that they didn't get a bigger bowl date or something like that. But Utah just took it right to them and dominated that game.
You know what I'll kind of equate this to? It's like when let's just say a father and a son, right? They're working for the same company, right? They own, let's say like an electrical company or something like that. Mm-hmm. And, Kyle Whittingham, right, is the dad that built up the company.
Yep.
And I'm not saying that the coach in waiting is necessarily his son, but for the analogy, the guy's been there forever.
Yep.
And there's a difference in working with your dad and then having your son eventually take over the company. And there's some things at the end that you got to cross the T's and dot the I's. This is that step where he's going to hand it over to his guy. And it's is it a year or two from now that I think that actually goes down.
Yeah, I just don't see, you can't have the coach stay too long because then it becomes, again, and I don't
used against your recruiting too.
Yeah, and but I don't need to make this about drama, but it's like, well, how long is he going to stay? So if it's like 1 year, maybe two, that's one. But if it goes beyond that, Will Muschamp was another coach in waiting.
Yeah.
And he ultimately left. It didn't exactly turn out well, but that's besides the point. But I just
Josh McDaniels was supposedly the coach in waiting in New England.
Yeah.
And he got a job somewhere else. How'd it go, Stu?
Yeah, I just don't see this as a long term. I don't see him being on the job for that much longer, but that's just my gut feeling more than anything else.
Yeah, like for example, Boeheim you knew was going to have to be forced out before he walked away. Whittingham, I don't think it's going to be. They'll let him coach until he no longer wants to, but I don't think he's going to be. He doesn't have the ego. Everyone has ego, but for coaching, Kyle Whittingham, it feels in the coaching center doesn't have that ego, and I don't think it's going to make it like me.
He'll enjoy skiing.
Yeah,
that's Kyle Whittingham. Football and skiing.
No, 100%. All righty, we'll take a break. We'll come on back. We will get into this horn down whole situation. Are they going to allow that in the SEC this year? Update time. Here's the Ack Man, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Well, five-time All-Star Donovan Mitchell is staying in Cleveland, signing a 3-year extension worth $150 million. The Cavaliers have gone to back-to-back playoffs since he arrived from the Jazz. The Magic have re-signed Jonathan Isaac to a 5-year deal worth $84 million, and Mo Wagner gets 2 years, $22 million, while four-time All-Star Kemba Walker announced his retirement. He played in France last year after 12 seasons in the NBA. The Astros had one of baseball's most disappointing starts, in part due to a massive number of injuries to their pitching staff, but they have turned it around recently. Houston was the best team in the major leagues in June, and it carried over to the start of July when they took the series opener in Toronto yesterday. The Astros have now won 10 of 11, and shortstop Jeremy Pena said everything has been clicking.
I feel like we're just playing our brand of baseball. We've been pitching really well. Hunter Brown came out and did it again. Our defense has been pretty good, and then we've been been delivering with the bat. So that's what we got to keep doing.
And they'll look to keep adding to the streak with Spencer Arrighetti on the mound tonight against Jose Barrios. Pavel Buchnevich gets a 6-year, $48 million deal in St. Louis, while Utah State placed football coach Blake Anderson on administrative leave. He is unlikely to return. I'm Rich Ackerman.
The Infinity Sports Network is on your smart speaker. All you have to say is play Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick. From the Backstreet Boys. And you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
All righty, this is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. You know, Stu, I really do think the Los Angeles Lakers, they have the media just by the balls. I really do think so. It's like 2 days ago, everyone was telling you, oh, Clay's going to wind up with the Los Angeles Lakers. Yesterday, when I was leaving the studio, it felt like we were going to have DeMar DeRozan, who's been trying to go to the Lakers for years, and they picked Russell Westbrook over him, that DeMar DeRozan was going to go back to the Lakers. That's what we were thinking. And now, according to Chris Haynes, DeMar DeRozan has zero interest in taking the MLE, the mid-level exception, for $13 million per Chris Haynes. Teams like the Lakers and Heat would have to get creative to create cap space or work out a sign and trade. So that's that right now. That's amazing. It really is. That really is something. So I'm getting a kick out of this right now. I know if you're listening to the radio, you have no clue what's going on. But on the YouTube stream, did I just see Tiki Barber pop up from down the hall?
Possibly.
So what, on the YouTube stream, did someone down the hall, they were pressing with a few buttons and then Tiki pops up? That's crazy. I just thought, out of nowhere, I see Tiki just sit in the studio. There must be a commercial break. He's looking down at something. Thankfully, he wasn't doing anything embarrassing. But
there might have been a slight misclick on our end here.
Oh, it was on you guys?
It was not. I'm not going to blame anyone down the hall.
So it was the guy standing behind you, Nico?
Nah.
Okay.
It was a collaborative effort.
It's fine. It's all right. You got one mistake. Next mistake, send you back down to AA.
Well.
Forget AAA. Send back down to AA.
I should have been sent down a long time ago.
Samter, let me tell you. To doing this show with you for 3 hours today, I think that was the best thing you said. Better than the Brunson take, I'll tell you that. Or your Derek Carr take. So,
well,
how's that poll going, by the way?
I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, it's not going in favor of Samter. That's why he didn't talk about it. But I'll tell you this, if it was going in favor of Samter, he'd be getting his 2 cents in before the end of this show today.
I don't know what you guys are talking about.
So Greg,
I don't know what you guys were saying. I was saying Baker Mayfield over Carr every day.
Yeah, sure you were. So Greg Sankey, the commissioner of the SEC, was asked, with now Texas being a part of the SEC, because in the Big 12, they would do anything, whatever Texas wanted, they would do. If you did a horns down celebration, you would get penalized. Here is Greg Sankey getting asked if there will be a penalty in the SEC if an opposing player does the horns down to kind of mock Texas.
There's been a lot of talk in the past about the horns down gesture. Do you expect that can you confirm whether or not that'll be a penalty moving forward?
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about football penalties on July 1st. I'll let my football coordinator deal with that. I think we've used the word seamless. The creativity of our fan base on social media is on full display today, and I think that Oklahoma and Texas are being treated as our past 14 members, and you'll see both the warm and the cold embrace that can be present.
Huh? Well, what is he talking about, Samter?
There was a whole 2-minute long question about incorporating Oklahoma and Texas into the SEC, and then he asked at the end, like he has this whole long, whatever, and then he just asked about the horns down. So I think the end of Sankey's answer was kind of more the meandering question about incorporating OU and Texas into the SEC, but still all around the horns down and how the fan base and how the conference is going to handle bringing those teams into the conference.
I don't understand why Texas fans, and it's not even Texas fans. Rodney Terry, the basketball coach, lost his mind over this. I don't get why Texas players, coaches actually get upset with the horns down. If you don't want the horns down to happen, don't let the other team score or don't lose the game. It was like the Sean Merriman lights out dance, which I loved. But then the Patriots threw it back in their face after they beat the Chargers, and LT was crying at the podium. LaDainian Tomlinson, oh, the Patriots are classless, and it starts with their coach. Boo.
Well, he's not wrong.
Enough of you today. All right? Let me just make the
I think
point.
we've passed the quota.
Yes. I need load management from Samter. All right? Samter's got too much game time today. But, for example, we had Bijan Robinson on at the Super Bowl. And I asked him why Texas, people that attended Texas that are Longhorns, why they get so offended with horns down. Here is Bijan Robinson on why Texas hates the horns down symbol.
Why are you guys so sensitive with the horns down thing?
We just have pride in our school, man. And I mean, horns down, it's just not a good look. It's not a good look.
Do you actually, when someone goes like this, your eyes just lit up. You actually get disrespected by it.
It's like, why did you have to do that? Like, you could have done anything else but that,
So you rather have someone give you the middle finger than right, horns down?
I would love that. Or like a thumbs down or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, okay, horns, but it's just like the horns down. It's just like, it's obviously the sign of disrespect for Texas.
Is it really disrespectful? You guys are known for horns up, hook 'em, right? I have no disdain for Texas whatsoever. But, Brian Jones punched me at the Super Bowl, in a playful way. But I knew he would get annoyed if I did horns down. So I did horns down to him, and he, shoved me. And even Bijan Robinson, you heard in the clip, his eyes lit up like a Christmas tree the moment when I did the horns down symbol in front of him. I don't get why this rubs Texas fans to a point where, I get it. When it happens to you, it means you lost or you allowed a big play to happen. But don't allow them the big play or the loss to happen. I don't get the bitching on the horns down. I really don't.
The only question I have is there any other team in any sport that you can think of that has a specific gesture against them that is specific to them, right? You could do any
Florida State with the chop.
No, but that's their positive chop. I'm saying is there,
no, but I'm saying when you beat them, people will be like, oh,
right, but you don't do a reverse oh,
oh, okay, no.
Yeah, is there any other team, program, franchise, anything in sport where they have a signature move, hand gesture, whatever, and then there's a specific anti-gesture to go along with that? I think this is the only one that I could think of is the horns down. So maybe that's why, because horns up is a big deal to them, and horns down is kind of insulting. No other team gets that.
Brian makes a good point. It's not different than baseball fans saying Yankees suck. Seriously, that's what horns down is. Basically saying, screw you, Texas. That's what's really going to make you lose your mind. It's different than not liking it. But Texas fans literally lose their mind whenever you do horns down, and also their basketball coach, Rodney Terry, did as well. Fun show today. Big thanks to Stu Samter, each and every one of you. We will be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. We out. Bye-bye. Peace.
You're in a 5-minute break.